Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City of Port St. Lucie City Council meeting this Monday, July 27th, 2026 at 6:01 p.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Caraballo?
Here, ma'am. Please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God in heaven, we ask thy blessings upon those gathered here this evening and upon all of the citizens of Port St. Lucie. Look with favor on our leaders and give them the insights, the wisdom, and the patience to deal with the problems and tasks coming before them. Please bless their work and their deliberations. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So item 4A, which is the half-cent sales tax proposal, we're going to move to the last item, which is Resolution 11L, Council.
That works.
Okay, does they go hand in hand?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Before we get to public to be heard, I'd like to share our standards of decorum that we follow here in council chambers as outlined in section 11 of the council rules. Our meetings are to conduct business of the city, and we ask that all participants please uphold the principles of civility, honor, and dignity. When addressing the dais, please use proper language, direct all comments to the chair, and refrain from personal attacks, disruptive behavior, or the use of profanity. In addition, outbursts or applause are not permitted. Each speaker will have 3 minutes, and time may not be transferred from one to another. If any of the rules are disregarded, we will provide a warning, and after that, you may be asked to leave the chambers, and if necessary, may be removed under Florida law. We value and thank you for your participation and welcome your input. Mr. Reynolds, come forward, please.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I was just trying to discuss the projected loss on revenue for you guys is like 50 million, right? Is this true?
So public to be heard is for you to speak with us. After public to be heard is over, the council can respond. It's not a dialogue, though, back and forth.
Okay, well, I just really want to know if you guys had any ideas to make up for that revenue stream, or if you guys plan on cutting services, or whatever services you're gonna cut due to the loss of the revenue stream. That's all I really want to know, just so you guys made your plan for that, if it does go through. Yeah, that's it, I'm good.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ms. Spence? Good evening.
Good evening. I come before this commission with some questions that I highly doubt I'll receive the answers to. Looking at the organizational information I was able to locate on the web, it appears that the city is quite top-heavy, with some employees receiving salaries that are double and triple of your frontline workers. When you're looking at over $100,000 for quite a few people, that's quite concerning. Maybe restructuring may be a way to save the city some money, get rid of some of the people that are in the middle. Can anybody tell us what the turnover rate is for this city? Because I noticed that a lot of jobs just keep reposting over and over again. Can we find out how many employees would you be willing to share with the community? How many employees are making over $100,000 annually? Let's see. Over the past few weeks, the city employees, there was meetings disguised as employee appreciation meetings where staff were told the negative impacts of voting in favor of Amendment 3 could have, including losing jobs with the city. Scare tactics do not work. I believe trying to scare your employees into vote no or you can lose your job, that's not the right way to go. They have the right to vote the way they want to vote. I almost choked on my water at one of the meetings I was at a few months ago when I heard somebody speaking about the cost for the art fund that they have to pay whenever somebody is building something. The man with the church, I think you remember, he was building a church and you guys were going to look into it, and they wanted almost $40,000 to be paid towards this art. Is art really all that necessary when we're looking at the budgets the way that they are, the budgets the way they're gonna be? Do they have to keep doing that to prevent people coming into the city, building businesses, if you're gonna hit them with all these big impact fees? And then, a while back, I had a conversation with one of you commissioners. I will not say which one I spoke to. At the time, I was informed during a city meeting, one of you up there on the diocese answered a public question providing false information. After the meeting, the city commissioner that I was speaking to confronted the individual sitting up there about providing the false information and asked why they provided false information. And the answer that he got was, it was what they wanted to hear. When I heard that, my chin almost hit the floor. I had to keep my composure and just went along with it. If you guys cannot stand up for the citizens and call somebody out when they are giving false information up there, that is so wrong on every level. And then I'm wondering, for the last thing, is Eric Stracuzzi a spoiler candidate to try and pull votes for Mr. Giordano? Just curious.
Hannah Galindo? Good evening.
Hi, give me 1 second, I apologize. My name is Hannah Galindo, and I am a resident here in Port St. Lucie, and I am standing before you tonight on behalf of a growing and deeply concerned coalition of your constituents. We are addressing the ongoing expansion and utilization of the flock safety license plate recognition cameras within our city. While fully understanding and supporting keeping Port St. Lucie safe, mass automated surveillance is the wrong path for our community. To show the deep concern, residents across Port St. Lucie are actively signing a petition calling the council to abolish flock safety systems. What makes this issue especially frustrating is how our tax dollars are being spent. We are funding reoccurring subscription costs for an AI surveillance network, while basic municipal improvements like restoring a twice-a-week trash collection are left behind. Our hard-earned money is being funneled into technology that directly violates our Fourth Amendment rights to be free for unreasonable tracking and warrantless searches. This isn't just a theoretical concern that tracks records across the country. It proves how dangerous these systems are. Nationwide, we have seen numerous documented accounts of misuse, officers using the database to stalk ex-partners or monitor individuals for personal reasons, unauthorized data sharing across state borders, and frequent camera reading errors that have led innocent families being pulled over and detained at gunpoint. These cameras do not look for criminals. They log and store daily movements of our everyday law-abiding citizens who are a community of free people, not sheep, to be tracked, tagged, and systematically monitored as we go about our daily lives. True community security is built on a robust, transparent, human-centered policing, not outsourcing our safety to third-party tech algorithms that treat everyday residents passing a camera like a suspect. Because of these consensual violations, the waste of tax dollars, and proven record of system misuse and errors, we urge this council to listen to its residents, halt any further expansion, and completely abolish the flock camera system in Port St. Lucie. Thank you for your time and your service to the city.
Thank you. Mr. Jean Baptiste?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Anthony Jean-Baptiste. I am a candidate for City Council District 1. My main reason here is because I'm concerned for the safety and the future of our children, our grandchildren, and including the residents of Port St. Lucie. Lately, the city has been building all over, starting from Tradition, Floresta Drive, Torino Parkway, all over, particularly with commercial building. And on top of that, it's like we're spending money out of control. We're talking about building stadium, which is very unnecessary because we have one right now. It seems to me nobody's using it. And my biggest concern also is the heavy traffic that's been going on, and it's getting worse. I believe 5 years from now, Port St. Lucie will become just like Dade County and Broward County. So my concern is, instead of spending all this money in these projects, I think the public has every right to know, to get involved. We need more transparency. We need to get the public involved because they're entitled for their own opinion, especially we are taxpayers. So this is why I'm here, just to address this issue, particularly with the commercial construction that's been going on all over, especially in tradition. So this is why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pelton?
Well, for starters, I would like to give you just a little bit of history about me so that I can make a few points. I got 33 years in being a diesel mechanic. I'm an ASE master diesel mechanic and been that for a good majority of my career. I'm an automotive ASE master mechanic, and I'm also an EBT mechanic, which means I've also worked at municipalities, which is part of the reason why I do not like municipalities. I've seen what they do with our tax dollars. That being said, one of the things I want to speak out about that, you've already had some people talk about infrastructure. As a mechanic, I can tell you that people have had to pay well over 50% higher because all the damage is done to their cars. You guys want to raise taxes and everything. What are you doing? Mayor, you're campaigning on better quality of life. I'm going to point out you're not. Anthony, okay, when I called it out when I was arrested for parking in my own driveway, in the meeting I pointed out and read the oath to you all that you take that you care nothing about. You assured everybody that I wasn't arrested for parking in my own driveway. I can't wait to see how much you're going to ruin the state, because what you've done here is garbage. Okay? One of my customers lives down by Par. All that construction, oh, by the way, thanks for going down and speaking to the company over there. They told me about that. They cannot stand you politicians. They think you guys are ridiculous. You keep tying their hands and keep using garbage material. Not good. But my customer down there has lost over 36% because the plaza has been closed up half the time on one side or the other. That's one of our businesses, one of our residents. What are you doing about that? Obviously, nothing, like everything else. Okay? Spoke to a gentleman today that I had lunch with, works for UPS, been here all his life. There was, about 30 years ago, you guys did a half a tax percent from 6 to 6.5 for the roads and for the sidewalks. Where's our sidewalks? I'm just asking. It's been almost 30 years. You're complaining about infrastructure and you're patting yourselves on the back for the tax cuts that you're doing. Where's our sidewalks that you were supposed to give us 30 years ago? Now, I know you're not there now, but you're supposed to be making changes. You haven't done that. None of you have. That's my point. You know, you also are targeting people. You were at my next door neighbor's hounding because he parks his work truck. You know what? Even the homeowners associations have realized that they've gone too far in infringing on our rights that are given to us by God. And Anthony, you prance around like a great godly man. Why are you taking away our God-given rights? So are you. You want to stand up here and pray? Stop taking away our God-given rights and pretend you're praying. Those are our rights. Stop it.
Mr. Giordano? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I mean, you guys are hearing it from the residents. Obviously, there's a lot of unpleasant residents here in Port St. Lucie, and I seen a need, and that's why I stood up to run for mayor. My name is Steven Giordano, and I'm here tonight because I believe in the people of Port St. Lucie. They deserve transparency, accountability, and leadership that actually puts the residents first. We don't need any more politicians. With the possibility of the property tax reform reducing city revenues, this is not the time to panic. It's a time to prioritize. Before anybody talks about cutting services or asking taxpayers to pay more, we need to take a hard look at how City Hall is spending our money. One example is the city's commitment to reimburse up to $27.5 million for the soccer stadium project. Whether you support the professional soccer or not, residents deserve to know whether this is the right financial priority when we have traffic congestion, aging infrastructure, drainage issues in neighborhoods that need investing. Every major expenditure should be evaluated based on whether it serves the greatest needs of our community, not self-interest. Families across Port St. Lucie have to balance their budgets every month. City Hall should have the same standard. We should protect our police officers, our firefighters, our parks, and essential services by making smarter financial decisions. The people of Port St. Lucie deserve a local government that is transparent, accountable, and focused on their priorities. It means putting residents before special interest, infrastructure before unnecessary spending, and accountability before excuses. Also, I'd like to bring, when we win as a community, the first homeless shelter here to Port St. Lucie. We don't have that. I think that the people of Port St. Lucie deserve leadership that makes the right decisions for the people, not developers. And we need to hold developers, you can look at me, Mayor, it's okay. We need to hold developers accountable for their fair share. You can go on the Supervisors of Elections website and you can look at your donations. You got over 80% of your donations are from developers, and you're not holding them accountable. Our kids need streetlights. Our kids need sidewalks. I got special needs that come into my office, and they're disappointed because you won't do the right thing. You know, this is like, it's so simple to hear what people want to do and then implement it. Make the changes for the people. Don't do them for yourself. It's called constructive criticism. Take accountability for your actions. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address public to be heard?
Can I do more?
Seeing no one, I'll close public to be heard. Council?
I would like, Madam Mayor, Ms. Parmalee, because of the flock conversation, I would love Chief, if he is available, to address that. I don't see Jennifer in the room to address the soccer stadium, but, oh, there she is. I would love for her to address the soccer stadium. And then to Ms. Spence, in regards to salaries, I also have, I don't know if Natalie's here, but if not, Ms. Cabrera can reach out to Ms. Spence directly. And to the other comments that Ms. Spence made, I'm not aware, there wasn't a lot of detail, but as always, you and I have met one-on-one before, so I'd be more than glad to discuss in the future. But if that's okay, I don't know if the council has anything else, but that's what I would like to start with. Thank you.
Yep. Chief?
Good evening, Chief Nimzik. So flock cameras have been getting a lot of attention on a national level for a lot of different reasons. One of the main things that have brought them to the forefront of attention is their utilization by ICE, which is a very polarizing situation. So I think it's important not to react defensively. I think it's important to react with an open mind and be objective. So I've been doing a lot of homework. As you know, we've been utilizing license plate readers back to about 2022, long before I became the chief. So I haven't had cause recently, because they've not been a point of concern, to take a deep dive. So I've begun doing a lot of research and a lot of homework and making sure I separate the facts from the fiction. There is an awful lot of fiction being passed around on social media in the world right now. I can tell you we have 3 manufactured license plate readers in the city. One is Flock. We also have Axon cameras. We also have some Motorola cameras. None of ours utilize biometrics. None of them identify people inside vehicles. None of them capture cell phones, Bluetooth, anything of that nature. They're recording, taking a photograph of the rear of the car and capturing the license plates. Then they compares the license plate data to hot lists stored in NCIC. So those hot lists generally consist of stolen vehicles, amber alerts, silver alerts, things of that nature. As a former commander of Criminal Investigations Division, I can tell you that they're an extremely invaluable investigative tool. We have solved crime after crime after crime utilizing that information. Most recently, the homicide that we had in St. Lucie West in May, we solved that crime in under 24 hours and had all suspects under arrest in less than 48. I don't know if we'd still have that crime solved today had we not had our license plate readers in place. So they're incredibly valued. Not to dismiss people's concerns. So I did take a deep dive into our policy. As you know, we're an accredited law enforcement agency. That means we have to follow all best practices and standards. We're nationally accredited by CALEA. So I took a deep dive into our policy, which was robust, and I did identify a couple areas that I felt we could strengthen and tighten up. One area being our retention. So we did have the ability to do retention for up to a year, and I rolled that back to 30 days immediately because I determined that's best practice currently. Our policy was a bit outdated in that way. The other thing I did is I mandatoried the audits that are done quarterly reported directly to me via chain memo 4 times a year, and I also directed that we do spot check audits. And I appointed a lieutenant to be our license plate coordinator. I felt that a higher rank was required. So the policy, which I would be happy to share with the community, I think it's important so they can understand how we're managing it and how we're using that data. So I'm going to be looking for the most effective way to do that. I'm going to explore maybe just putting it on our website, making it available, and making myself as available as possible to answer questions. I know you all have been getting questions at your offices, and my office has been trying to answer questions. We've been getting a lot of records requests, but it's something that's receiving an awful lot of interest. So I've reached out to each of the manufacturers that we utilize. I've requested a lot of information. I've been provided a lot of information. I'll be honest, I'm Gen X. I'm not a millennial. I'm not as good on a lot of the technology as some of the other people working with us. But I'm doing a deep dive learning, making sure I understand what people's concerns are, and making sure that I lock them down best I can and stay open-minded about it. So if you have any questions that I can answer directly.
Any questions for Chief? No? Okay,
Okay. Thank you. And I remain available to all of you if anything comes up on the topic.
thank you. Ms. Davis?
Good evening. There was a question about the use of TIF revenue to reimburse the developer who is building the stadium. So TIF revenue is generated within the CRA, and that revenue is incremental, and it can only be used within the benefited area, which is the CRA. So I know there's been a lot of discussion and feedback about why can't we invest the CRA dollars, that TIF revenue, into other areas of the city, and we're just not allowed to do that. What we are allowed to do is invest in economic development projects, invest in infrastructure within the CRA. Within our plan, our CRA plan, you'll actually see where we do have earmarked money to invest in infrastructure in the Eastern CRA. And specifically, the $27.5 million is a reimbursement that would be incrementally over a 20-year period, performance period by the developer and the operator, and it doesn't start until a year after the stadium is complete. So we were very mindful of how that was structured over time, so that even today, if they had not started construction, in 2 years, they're not going to get any dollars from the city. Once they do complete their stadium and are operating for at least a year, they would get their first payment, and then every year thereafter, they would be eligible for that as long as they meet the criteria.
Is the city of Port St. Lucie paying for any part of the stadium whatsoever?
We are not.
Madam Mayor, I have a question
Yes.
too. How much estimated revenue, or how much estimated tax revenue is the stadium going to provide the CRA?
I would need to evaluate that. We did one for overall Walton and One, and what we anticipated that would generate, and we were looking somewhere in the taxable value increase between $300 and $500 million in taxable increase, just in that quadrant. We did not break it down, but you could do a calculation. They're estimating their investment to be about $80 million, so we could do that calculation.
So if I remember, and I could be wrong, so I think back when we started the process, I think it was about $6 million is what I was told. So essentially, if the stadium doesn't build and if the stadium is not operating, it's not generating any tax revenue and therefore will not be reimbursed anything, correct?
That's correct.
And so if the number is correct, I'm pretty sure it was 6. Maybe someone else on the council remembers the same number. If it was 6, and let's say I think it was like 1.3 is what it's estimated to be reimbursed annually over 20 years.
Correct.
So that other $5 million would go back into the CRA for reinvestment in the CRA, correct?
Correct.
And by law, Mr. City Attorney, Is the council allowed to utilize CRA TIF revenue for projects outside of the CRA associated with stormwater, road projects, or any other projects that the city would love to do? Because I know for a fact, I'm only one of 5, I would love to take all the money generated in the CRA and spread it all over the city if I could, but am I allowed to do that?
No, Ms. Davis hit the nail on the head right away, saying CRA funds and TIF revenue are only allowed to be used within the CRA area in question.
And I understand, listen, it's not an easy subject, it's a complicated subject. That deal, again, I commend staff. That is a very unique agreement that came forward. I would question whether any city in the state of Florida actually has a deal structured in the way that that's structured to ensure that the city does not end up getting the short end of the stick. And so I just encourage people to continue to ask questions, and I think we're more than welcome to answer them and provide that feedback. I also, Madam Mayor, I just remembered that Mr. Reynolds also had a question. There was a 2-day budget conference that this council just had. It's extensive information that we covered, but I want to make sure that Mr. Okia, who's our finance director, reaches out to you personally to answer all those questions and provide you the feedback of what was discussed, because it's a very long topic, and I want you to have as much time as you need to get those answers as well. So I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everybody coming out and providing their feedback to the board. And as always, we're available if you have any further questions or would like to reach out to us. Thank you.
Any comments? Did you have something?
Sure. Jen, I had a couple of comments about the stadium, questions about the stadium as well.
Get your steps in, Jen.
Yeah, come on back.
So I think really at the heart of it, and one of the reasons that this stadium was structured in such a way that is amazingly favorable to the city of Port St. Lucie. And I think part of the reason it was structured that way was because staff went into this knowing all of the damage that was done with VGTI and digital domain and those kind of deals that left taxpayers on the hook and guaranteed a private developer's debt. And so that did not happen in this case. So, and I want to make that abundantly clear that there is no scenario where the soccer team's failure would leave the city in any kind of debt on the backs of the taxpayers. Is that a fair statement to make?
That's correct.
Okay, and the scenarios, just so that it's clear, because there's a lot of confusion because of the history and because of the debt that we're still paying off from over a decade ago. The only scenarios that can happen is either the stadium builds and is operational and successful over a 20-year period, in which case the economic benefit is incredible to the city. The stadium builds, opens, is successful for a few years, and then fizzles out. In that scenario, we have an $80 million facility that's turned over to us, and we have no further payments. So if they're here for, 3 years, there's about $4.5 to $5 million of reimbursements, and we own an $80 million facility. And if they never build, they've posted a bond, and we get to finish the project. So there's no situation where the city loses, and I don't think that that's very clear. Additionally, there's some other things in that contract that favor the city. We get half of the naming rights, correct?
That's correct.
So, and did we ever clarify whether the revenue that comes from naming rights needs to be used in the CRA, or would it be revenue for the city?
We have not clarified that yet. We have a few other items that we'll be bringing back to the CRA board for discussion, including, the other benefits that the city would receive, like use of the stadium site and all that. So we'll be bringing that back.
But at its worst, it would reduce the $27.5 million reimbursement. So the reimbursement would not even be near $27.5 million if we can generate naming rights revenue.
Correct.
And as a part of this agreement, the developer is required to make certain infrastructure and improvements to accommodate traffic and public safety. And does the developer pay for those?
The developer will pay for those, yes, or the operator of the stadium.
Okay, so the city's going to get benefits in terms of infrastructure and public safety and ingress and egress as a result of this deal that we are not paying for. And so when you add it up, it's a very favorable scenario for the city. So I just want to be very clear about that.
And
Thank you.
Since you said that, I just thought of one more question I forgot to ask. What's the amount of bond? So if they choose not to build, now that the deal's been agreed to, what is the bond amount to build the stadium that we'd be provided?
So it's 120%.
So 120% over what they've committed to?
The construction value.
Okay, just wanted to note that too, so we also have a bond to cover if they decide not to build. And again, I appreciate you going down the rabbit hole even further, because it is something that is talked about widely. I've said it, I'm sure some people feel this way, I don't know anything about the game of soccer. It's not my forte. And I personally only am excited for the purpose of the residual economic development, the future of retail, the future of restaurants, and the ability to provide what the residents have been always promised for that particular site in 30-plus years. For some people that may have not been here for a long time, and maybe just moved to Port St. Lucie in the last few years, that area was supposed to be similar to what you see in Abacoa. It was supposed to be an area that generated ability for us to go to restaurants and be able to shop locally and keep our money local instead of going to Jensen. For me, that I grew up in the East Side, it keeps me from going all the way to tradition. I love tradition. Tradition is great, but I would love to have things over on our side of the city because we're so big. And I think that's been a dream of the residents, and they were promised that. And unfortunately, when it went under with that developer, it was devastating to the city of what that just sat there empty for 30 years. And now we have this amazing opportunity, and they put together this great contract that I feel that is going to be very successful either way for us. And I think we're gonna actually see finally something that's depreciating, because if you haven't been on US 1 recently, I've been on US 1 a lot. I'm there all the time, and those buildings aren't getting any better. Those storefronts aren't getting more filled, they're only getting less filled. When you look at Village Green, my husband is also from the automotive industry. When you look at US 1 and you look at Village Green and you see all of those businesses, I see how the challenges are of staying open and being able to maintain when you have all this new stuff coming up on the west side. And so I just really feel that it's gonna really help our community. And like I said, I understand the challenges and like you said, Councilman Bonner, the past and the consternation of how we look at that from the past perspective, but I think you guys did a good job, so thanks.
Councilwoman Pickett, go ahead.
Jennifer, can you talk about how many days the city gets to use that stadium?
Sure. The contract identifies 24 event days per year that the city would be eligible to use the facility.
Any other comments? Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please briefly go over how streetlights work, the street lighting program works in the city?
Yes, ma'am. So per our code, we have on our website where any owner of a property on any given residential street in the city of Port St. Lucie can put in a request for residential street lighting. We then process that, provide them with a potential mapping of who would benefit from the street lighting of that street. They then would need to get 25% of those residents identified on board, essentially, through a petition process. Mm-hmm. Once that petition is successful, we then send a ballot to all of the property owners identified in that boundary. And then, depending on the ballots returned, it is 50% plus one, determines whether or not we go forward with the lights or the boundary has failed. We then send that, the successful boundaries annually, we send those to FP&L for installation. It is currently a $26 fee attached to the property taxes. That fee does not go to the city of Port St. Lucie. That fee is for the maintenance and the utilities to run the lights through FP&L.
So, in essence, the residents get to decide if they want streetlights on their street already, and that has been a long-standing, ongoing program with the city, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Colt, can you come up and confirm the number of miles of sidewalks that the city has installed in the last 4 years, and also the miles of roads that have been repaved in the last 4 years? if you remember off the top of your head. If not, I know the answer, but you're the Public Works Director.
Thank you, Colt Sawyer, Public Works Director. So I can tell you right now, for just sales tax alone, since inception in 2018, we've installed 13.7 miles of sidewalks. We've also installed roughly another mile on top of that out of the road and bridge per year on average, give or take. As far as roadways, same for since inception of the sales tax in 2018, we've paved over 104 miles of roadways.
And that's just for sales tax, right?
Correct.
But, so the number I know in total is about 221 miles.
That sounds about accurate, correct. I would have to pull up the plan, but I can pull that up right away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
So,
And Madam Mayor, just,
Yes.
and I want to answer the question too directly, in fairness, is there has been an initiative to do sidewalks, but and this is before I was even on the council, the the first goal of our sidewalks was to actually focus on our main arterials for the purposes of connection, because I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of times where there was misconnections within the city of Port St. Lucie, and when we had the last downturn, unfortunately, there was a lot of sidewalks that were left unfinished, and so you had a lot of these gaps. So the first goal of the council back then was to ensure that all sidewalk connections occurred, and the focus started with the schools first, to make sure that all those schools had arterial connections to be able to get our kids safely to be able to walk back and forth to school. And then after that, I think the council has a preliminary estimate from Public Works in regards to when we'll be able to get off the focus of the connection of the arterials and then begin to discuss the future of inner streets. Because there are some cities that have inner streets, but since Port St. Lucie was built by GDC, there was no plans to actually put sidewalks into the city. And so we've always been playing catch up with that. The next question then becomes to the residents is, what is that going to look like for the future? Do we want street connection? Is it going to be similar like the streetlight program where some people are going to want sidewalks? I've actually met residents that do not want sidewalks in the front of their house. I think it's weird. I like sidewalks, but some people don't want it, just like they don't want streetlights. They don't want that either. And so it's trying to find that balance of what you're trying to do to make people happy without shoving it down their throat too. So I think the arterials is a good one. I think that's important to make sure that people have connections to the main areas where they're trying to go. And then I think once we get to that, which I think we don't have a lot left there, do we, with main arterials? I'm really interested in the next sidewalk master plan that's going to map out the rest of the areas that we need. And there was one more thing, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, transparency. I think important to share too is Florida, out of all 50 states, literally has the strictest transparency laws when it comes to public records as well as sunshine, out of all 50 states. And so if you have questions, you are more than welcome to ask, and we're required to give the answer. But as you can see, just in this conversation and just the statements that were made and the questions that were made, look at the amount of time we've spent explaining. There's a lot of information to know. When you're in a city as big as ours, we're the 3rd largest in land size, 6th largest in population. There's a ton of people, a ton of services, a ton of things that we do. Sometimes what doesn't feel transparent is just that level of information you have. And so when you have that level of information, and we have a lot of it on our website, it's just so overwhelming that sometimes people you can't see it all at one time, right? But if you have questions, all you have to do is send an email. You can send an email to the council office, you can send an email to our city clerk, and that's a public record, and we'll be more than glad to answer those questions that you have at any point in time. Thank you.
And unfortunately, there was a lot of misinformation that was discussed at the podium tonight. And so I would encourage anyone, if you have any questions of me or the council whatsoever, my office number is 871-5159. I'm available by email, I'm available by phone, and I'm happy to answer each and every single question that anyone has about the city of Port St. Lucie or even about my reelection campaign. We don't campaign from the dais here. That is inappropriate. We're here to do city business. But if you want to reach out to me personally, I'm happy to speak to anyone and everyone. So thank you very much. Moving on to additions and deletions to the agenda and approval of the agenda. We've been requested to table item 10B, add items 4A, 7K, 11K, and 11L.
Madam Mayor, may we also, staff is requesting to table item 7B as well, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve the agenda with item 10B, 4A, 7B, 7K, 11K, and 11L tabled.
No, we're
Did I say wrong?
tabling 10B and 7B.
That's what I said, 4A, 7B, 7K.
That's adding.
Oh, that's adding.
So we're tabling two
It's
items.
this, okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
why, okay, so request item table 7B, 10B, 7B with the addition of items 4A, 7K, 11K, and 11L. It's a run-on sentence.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So approval of consent agenda, we've tabled item 7B and 7K already. Does any other member of council have any other item that they would like to remove for separate discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to second reading of ordinances, 8A, ordinance 26-67.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, providing for the Third Amendment to the Master Planned Unit Development Regulation Book and Concept Plan for Legacy Park North at Southern Grove, MPUD, located west of Interstate 95, east of Southwest Village Parkway, and between Marshall Parkway and Southwest Hegner Drive, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, council.
Motion to approve ordinance 26-67.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8B, ordinance 26-69.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, relating to upland habitat mitigation payment in lieu of preservation, amending Section 157.06, providing for codification, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-69.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8C, ordinance 26-70.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 2, Block 1170, Port St. Lucie, Section 8, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 12, page 38 of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 2670.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8D, ordinance 26-71.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, abandoning a portion of a 20-foot wide rear utility and drainage easement affecting Lot 16, Block 719, Port St. Lucie, Section 18, according to the plat thereof, as recorded in Plat Book 13, pages 17, 17A through 17K of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-71.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 10, first reading of ordinances. So items 10A, 10C, 11A, and 11B are all quasi-judicial items. So anyone who is going to provide any testimony on these items, I'll read them again, 10A, 10C, 11A, and 11B, please stand and be sworn in by the clerk. Yes, that was Hold on one second, sir. Go ahead.
You'll raise your right hand, and do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So the item is tabled. I can have, if you still want to speak, I can have you speak after this item.
Understand, thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance for 10A, which is ordinance 26-68.
An ordinance of the City of Port St. Lucie amending the master sign program for Sundance Port St. Lucie, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, council. Are there any ex parte communications to disclose?
No, ma'am.
No. None for me either. Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. Marissa Dabry-Latchman, Planning and Zoning Department. I have been sworn in, and the official file packet was provided to the clerk at least 5 days prior to this meeting. Madam Clerk, please enter the file into the record. The item before you tonight is an amendment to the Sundance PSL Master Sign Program. This is the first amendment, P25001-A1. The owner is ACR Acquisitions LLC, and the applicant is Haley Ward. And the project is located east of Rangeline Road and north of the C-23 Canal. As I said before, this is the first amendment to the Master Sign Program. This is the affected area outlined on the map. And here is an aerial photograph. The property is under development at the moment. There's Becker Road to the south and the C-24 Canal in Martin County to the south. We have county property to the west, and we have vacant property to the east. The master sign programs are a mechanism for applicants to customize the signage allowances for their project in lieu of following the city code. Many of the larger projects in the city have master sign programs. The Sundance PSL Master Sign Program provides signage regulations for all of the development within the Wilson Grove Development of Regional Impact. The primary focus of the proposed amendment is to change the size and number of temporary signs, mainly feather flags, allowed in the open space tracts within the development. The existing MSP allows for 17-foot high temporary signs with 4 square feet. The amended MSP would allow for 20-foot signs with 50 square feet. This equates to approximately 2.5-foot wide sign. The setback from public right-of-ways are proposed to be 10 feet and 5 feet from a private road right-of-way. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the Master Sign Program amendment at their July 11th, 2026 meeting. This is the end of the presentation. I do believe the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
No, Madam Mayor.
No? Okay. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? No? Okay. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve ordinance 26-68.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 10B was tabled. Moving on to 10C, ordinance 26-73.
An ordinance to rezone approximately 33.23 acres of property generally located south of Southwest Discovery Way, east of Southwest Sundance Vista Boulevard for parcels of land legally described in Section 9 of the attached composite Exhibit A from the zoning designation of St. Lucie County Agricultural to the zoning designation of Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD for a project known as Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD, providing for the approval and adoption of an MPUD conceptual master plan and regulation book, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council, are any ex parte communications to disclose?
Spoke with the applicant.
I spoke with the applicant.
Okay. Nope. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Council, staff. The item before you now is the Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD rezoning. For the record, Francis Foreman with the Planning and Zoning Division. I have been sworn in, and the official city packet has been given to the city clerks 5 days prior to this meeting. Madam Clerk, if you could please enter that file into the record. The applicant for this application is Aslina Goldstein with Riverland Kennedy 2 LLC, with the property owners being Riverland Kennedy 2 LLC and the city of Port St. Lucie. This site is located south of Southwest Discovery Way, east of Southwest Sundance Vista Boulevard, which was previously known as North-South A. The request is to rezone approximately 33.23 acres of land from St. Lucie County Agricultural to Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD. These maps show a general location and as well as an aerial of the overall subject area, with the subject site being outlined here in yellow. The overall area does have a land use currently of new community development, or NCD, as well as compatible zoning district of MPUD, or master plan unit development. Again, as stated, the overall area does have NCD and an MPUD zoning district for the existing Riverland Kennedy developments in the area. The Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD, again, is approximately 33.23 acres and is located, again, in that Riverland DRI. This site is on a designated neighborhood village commercial designation, which allows a mixture of residential and non-residential uses, such as commercial and offices, personal and household services, institutional, public facilities, parks, playgrounds, and other similar services that are intended to serve the overall neighborhoods in the surrounding area. Any neighborhood village commercial area must contain at least 2 of those uses as a minimum that they have to contain. Currently, the Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD is proposing to provide about 135,000 square feet of indoor recreation with some commercial as well as some outdoor RV boats and storage areas for the residents of the Riverland area. I just want to state again that this is a rezoning, so this is just a list of uses that are going to be allowed within this area. This isn't the actual site plan. There are no detailed information as what is being proposed there now. This is just the allowances of the uses that could possibly go into this area. This would be the same as if you were to rezone any other property in the general city as to like a general commercial zoning district. It's just the allowable uses that could be allowed on the property. Within the MPUD document, there is Exhibit 17, which is the conceptual plan. This is just the outlined area of the overall MPUD and where this MPUD will be located. As stated previously, the subject property is located within the Riverland Kennedy DRI and is within the designated neighborhood village commercial subdistrict as depicted on a map H of the Riverland DRI and figure 1.5 of the future land use element. Policy 1224 of our comprehensive plan designates the uses that are allowed within the neighborhood village commercial areas, as well as the minimum amount of uses that are allowed for each sub-district that is in our comp plan. The Planning and Zoning Department reviewed the request with consistencies of and directions and intent of the city's land development regulations and policies of our comprehensive plan. And the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of the proposed MPUD rezoning and regulation book at their July 7th meeting. This concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have for staff, as well as the applicant is here with a presentation as well.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Francis, I was looking at your rendition there. What's the distance of the FPNL easement? The reason I ask is because I've received some emails from residents talking about how close it's going to be to the property. If that's an FPNL easement on the backside of that property, what's that distance?
Of the width of the easement,
Right,
or like the
right.
distance to the easement?
The width of the FPNL
I
easement.
don't have that number off the top of my head. I can get that number while
The one in Trino, the reason I'm asking is it's probably approximately 250, 300 feet. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about accurate, correct?
Yes, Councilman Pickett, it's about 200 feet. I know Ms. Goldstein has the specific numbers, so I think we could let her give you the exact measurement. I think the easement's 200 feet wide.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So I'm sure you said that you got emails. I have several emails. First, I want to make sure that the clerk provides these emails to the applicant, because a lot of this has to do with a future site plan, or if it passes a future site plan. So I want to make sure that they have the information to know. Mr. City Attorney, I know that we did the quasi-judicial swearing in. I think it's important for the public to understand, how does the quasi-judicial process works? Like, what is this body doing? And then what is this item and what are we allowed to consider? Because I'm sure there's people that are signed up to public to be heard. If they want to speak, I want them to speak. I just want them to know like exactly what we're doing here tonight. Thank you.
Understood. So Mr. Foreman actually kind of touched on it earlier. So this is a rezoning, and I think what you're alluding to with regard to what the scope of the conversation is that a rezoning is limited to what pretty much Mr. Foreman presented, but not part of it are things like landscaping, indoor, outdoor features, or specifics of what it will ultimately be. And so those things are better suited for the site plan process. That being said, can't prevent the public from speaking on items, obviously, but with regard to what the process is like for quasi-judicial, the legislators here take off their legislator hat, they put on their judge robes, and then testimony is given under oath, and it's limited to taking that sworn testimony and the facts presented and applying them to a specific problem. In this instance, that specific problem is the request for rezoning. And that is generally how it works. Like I said, there is a public to be heard component to this that, we can't really prevent anyone from speaking on these items. But as far as the evidence that has to be weighed, if it's not necessarily relevant to the topic at hand, yes, the council can hear it, but they're not necessarily allowed to consider that to go towards the weight of their determination because it would be improper at this stage. Hope that helps.
Thank you. No, that helps. I just really wanted it clarified because I know I've read some of the stuff, and I definitely want to make sure that gets back if this passes for a site plan discussion. But I just want to make sure that you know ahead of time that there's things that we can consider and there's things that we cannot consider because this is a different type of process. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Just as a follow-up to your comments, you said that there was evidence that we had to weigh and those kind of things. What can you go into more detail specifically about what evidence is allowed to be weighed and what evidence is not allowed to be made? Is a rezoning discretionary, or what property rights are granted here? Can you give a bit more? Because I know we're supposed to weigh this evidence, but what is that evidence? I think would give a little bit clearer picture.
Right. With regard to the deep dive of this particular application in the history, I think planning is more equipped to talk about entitlements and the like, but if there are entitlements on the property, there's always a question of, right, those entitlements pre-existed this application, and so the council may be limited in what they can determine, given pre-existing development rights, et cetera. I don't want to talk out of turn on that. I'll rely on kind of the historical knowledge of planning and zoning on that. With regard to the evidence itself, right, you are the arbiters, you weigh them, you weigh that evidence with regard to the rezoning, as kind of gone over by planning and zoning in the application.
I think that's a good segue.
You're good. Are you good? Councilwoman Bonner? Okay.
Well, all right. Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to explain it. I think it's good to talk about the entitlements. That way people understand what the entitlements are.
So one of the overreaching documents for this piece of land is the DRI. That talks about what's going to be built there. It's a broad document. We also have the comprehensive plan. And as staff testified, this rezoning was found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan follows the DRI. So those are the roadmaps for how this section of the city is intended to develop. So that would be what you would be looking at, as well as the totality of what the applicant submitted, showing what their intended use is there, and then you look at that and you see how that aligns with the comp plan and the DRI.
And if you're confused yet, I understand.
It's a lot.
It's not our process. It's the way it's legally required by the state, and this is the way this has to be done. So apologies for that. It's definitely not the simplest thing for anybody to.
And a DRI is a development of regional impact, correct?
You're correct, and for the people listening, the council frequently says a lot of the entitlements in parts of the city were granted previous. We have roadmaps, development of regional impacts. We have several in the city, and those lay out how years ago it was proposed that the city would develop in some areas, and they were approved, and there's vested rights associated with those. And part of the process of them building it out is for the customer, the applicant, to come back to you. And they change their land use, and they change their zoning, and then they have to get a site plan approval and show how all of the water works and the pipes connect, and there's a landscape plan. Right now, we're at the rezoning, and the zoning says within this section of property, Mr. Francis explained it very well, here's a list of uses that would be allowed on this property, and you have to have at least 2 different uses. Now, the applicant, has a concept of what they might build, but ultimately will review their uses when they come in for their site plan. This is just telling you, council, we would like to rezone to this, and here's our intention to install uses of this type on this property. And that's what you're contemplating.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Islena Goldstein. I'm the representative and agent for the landowners, the City of Port St. Lucie and Riverland Kennedy. And so, as you know, this is for our MPUD rezoning application for our Riverland West Sports and Recreation MPUD, project number P26-046. So as discussed by Mr. Francis Foreman, our item before you is essentially, it's a straightforward rezoning. And before we can proceed any further in the development of our lands within our DRI property, we are required to rezone the subject property from the county's SLC Ag 5 zoning designation to the city's MPUD zoning. And so as city staff beautifully covered, this MPUD application is fully consistent with the city's comprehensive plan as well as our Riverland Kennedy DRI development order. And to refresh everyone's recollection, here is the location to provide the context of where our project site is located, and we have approximately 4,000 acres that comprise our Riverland Kennedy DRI property within the southwest annexation area of the city. This rezoning is also part of the final steps that's required under our October 2022 Parks Agreement, where Riverland Kennedy constructed and delivered at no cost to the city the public recreational amenities for the city's Riverland Paseo Park. And as you can see on this map, the MPUD property is positioned south of the city's reverse osmosis utility site and between 2 of our existing active adult Riverland communities, which are Valencia Grove and Valencia Vista, our newest neighborhood that recently had its grand opening. And more specifically, and to address Councilman Pickett's point, to the east of our MPUD property site is a 200-foot wide FPL easement, together with an approximate 30-foot buffer as well, that separates the Valencia Grove property from the MPUD property. And to the west of the MPUD property is Sundance Vista Boulevard, also known as, or formerly known as, NSA. And so the neighborhood commercial development program that's proposed for this project site is planned intentionally to serve our existing residents, our future residents at Riverland, as well as the broader western area of the city. And as you know, an MPUD establishes the zoning framework for those uses that can be planned for the development of a specific area. All of the details for the actual development of a site plan within the MPUD, and as City Attorney Mr. Barrios had stated, the design, whether it's the placement of the buildings or other improvements or buffering and landscaping, et cetera, those are handled and determined at the site plan stage. All of the details of the actual development of a site, that is not before City Council today. Tonight's requested action by City Council concerns only a rezoning from the county's St. Lucie Ag 5 to the city's MPUD rezoning, and as determined by city staff, as well as unanimously approved by the P&Z board, it is consistent with the direction and intent of the city's comprehensive plan, as well as our Riverland Kennedy DRI development order. And so it should also be noted, especially for those that are out in the public and including those 6,000 plus residents that are not here, our goal is to prepare and process quickly as possible a site plan for the initial recreational amenities that will serve our residents. And there is definitely an excitement about getting those site plan before you, but, and as well as under construction, but again, we need to go forward with this rezoning and get that approved before we can get to that next stage of site plan. And so with that, Mayor and City Council, I'd like to reserve any comment for myself and my colleague, Jeff Brophy, who's here with me, to respond to any questions or concerns that may be raised.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Goldstein at this time? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Mr. Reardon? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for affording me the opportunity and the time to speak with you this evening. My name is Jim Reardon. I live at 13484 Southwest River Rock Road, Port St. Lucie. My property is located at the southern end of the proposed Riverland West Sports and Recreation Center, project number P26-0446. I spoke at a July 7th, 2006 zoning planning board meeting. Mr. Norton, the chairman, encouraged me to meet with Ms. Goldstein, which I did after the meeting. The following day, she followed up with an email, giving me her contact information. At that time, I gave her basically what our primary concerns were with the project moving forward. On Friday, she did contact me, but none of those concerns were addressed at that time. As a matter of fact, what she did say is exactly what she said right now, is this is not the time. The time is later. But we feel this is the time before we move forward. It's interesting, at this point they said that this property had to be multi-use. And I believe originally it did have a multi-use purpose. It was a park and small businesses there. That's the multi-use purpose of that. They're asking you to get rid of that and now build their sports complex. Okay? Now remember, there's 1,300 other acres out there where they could build this sports complex and not take the city land. So let me continue with that. GL has already sold parcels in the Vista, in the new section, advertising the new fitness center. I provided you pictures of it. And it's kind of amazing. It's, I think it's putting the horse before the cart before the horse. They've already said this is the future site. So I guess it's a done deal based on this picture and what they're advertising to the people that they sold parcels of land to. We purchased our property, as well as every citizen here this evening from the Grove, with the understanding... I'm sorry? Oh, sorry.
Continue, sir.
With the understanding that this parcel of land will be a city park. I also provided you copies of the 2020, 2021, 2022 advertisements from GL. They basically said what this was going to be to us. This is what they sold us. It was a multi-use piece of property, a city park, as well as the small businesses that were going to be there. And we didn't know what that was, but we bought it because we knew what it was going to be. Now they're turning around and basically trying to make this something different. So I would not have purchased my property in 2021, knowing this health club would be built. I asked the council at this time to basically reject this proposal moving forward. And I believe that this council giving up 25 acres, which originally went for city parks, to be a health club open only to Riverland residents, is not in the spirit of what this council should be doing this evening. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mr. Watkins?
You're not allowed to do that.
Mr. Good evening, sir.
Hello, my name is Carl Watkins. I was going to say same as him, but we'll add. I'm a GL Homes owner, and I live in a resident of Valencia Grove in the neighborhood of Riverland. We live just across the street from the western berm of Valencia Grove, in the area that this proposed fitness center and pickleball courts, from the information we've gotten through GL, pickleball courts would be built. As a resident of Riverland, although I'm grateful for GL Homes wants to add more amenities, I have major concerns about the noise and the mitigation, noise mitigation on when it concerns the pickleball courts in particular. Currently, the western edge of the property is divided by a small berm, a chain link fence, and some vegetation, which a lot of has died due to the freeze we had this past January. Also, light mitigation and security are concerns of the residents. I strongly urge GL Homes to install noise mitigation fencing of some type to keep the noise from the down to a minimum. I have used a noise meter near the current pickleball courts and also in our house outside in the screen lanai, which we enjoy spending time in. The noise decibel levels are 10 to 12 decibels higher near the pickleball courts than it is currently at in our lanai. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gallus? Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Harriet Gallus. I also live in Riverland in the Grove. My husband and I moved to Riverland about 4 years ago. We chose to come here for quality of life. We wanted calm, we wanted relaxation, we wanted no snow, and we've gotten everything we want. We love where we live. When we bought our house, we were told there was going to be a park over the berm next to us, and that gives me pause because they're talking 72 pickleball courts, bocce courts, tennis courts, a dog park, an RV park, and God knows what else. And that's going to destroy my quality of life. The noise is noise pollution is a real thing. It's documented, it's out there. It causes harm, it causes stress, it causes anxiety. And pickleball noise is at a whole other level because pickleball, it's repetitive, it's loud, it's stabbing, it's sharp, and it goes on for hours every day. There's no release from it. I respectfully beg you to not pass this rezoning. Riverland has, what they say, 4,000 acres. I know some of it's in use, but they have many acres that they could relocate. So it's not adjacent to homes where it's going to affect our quality of life. I would guess that most people who moved to Riverland moved for the quality of life. That recreation center will destroy it. Thank you for listening to my words.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Gallus? Good evening.
Good evening. I'll just lift this up a bit. Well, Mayor Martin and Council, thank you for letting us speak about this particular issue. With regard to Project P26046, I have some questions. In the public information, the project describes mitigating lighting by various means to reduce glare and relieve discomfort from various residences. It does not discuss or mention the concern of noise mitigation by having 70-plus pickleball courts, bocce courts, tennis ball courts being used 12 hours or more every day. In addition to the sounds, players and spectators may subject us to additional noise. What are their intentions to mitigate this problem? With regard to this plan, none of the plans shown to us during our buying period years ago or currently showed anything other than a park. When did this change? When did GL decide that their decisions were superior to our enjoyment of a quality of life that their own brochures described? My wife and I spent 60 years raising a family and to provide a place to enjoy the pleasures of peace and quiet in a retirement community where we have met some incredible people. Now GL has placed us and over 100 homes in the unenvious position of not being able to thoroughly enjoy our lanais and outside grounds so they can fulfill their need to go back on their word ask for different terms instead of just a park, and subject the Grove's residents to accept their concept and idea of peace and quiet. It affects us, senior citizens looking for the quiet life. With regard to timing, why bring this project up now when many, many residents are gone for the summer? Is it to minimize any opposition from residents to voice their concerns? This project, more than likely, will also impact the value of our homes, affecting resale values, which could cost the city revenue in terms of taxes. Better that they should have been honest brokers and upfront come to the Grove with the project so we could have raised questions and gotten answers that perhaps would have led us to a buy-in from instead of bitter opposition. I'd like to thank you for letting us come here to share our concerns. Please ask yourself the question, would I want this in my backyard in its current form? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Watkins? Good evening.
Hi, I'm a resident of Valencia Grove in Riverland. I have some concerns. I'm questioning the process of asking City Hall to approve, or the City Council to approve the rezoning, or is it just a formality? I'm not sure if they're aware of the residents' concerns and taken into consideration before rezoning is decided. The reason I ask this is on June 25th, we received the notice from the Planning and Zoning, Lena Gold, same day that there was a release on YouTube. If you look it up, you'll see Riverland Master Community Update. If you watch the video, 4 minutes and 31 seconds into it, Ryan Corson, the division president of GL Homes, shares the following. I'm excited to announce that we're putting the finishing touches on the design of the new Sports and Racket Club complex located in west of Valencia Grove and Valencia Park with direct access from Paseo Greenway. The video includes maps of the designated area along with all the amenities they're going to offer us. This was announced 2 weeks before GL's proposal to rezone at the July 7th meeting. GL has also posted signage at the model homes at the end of Paseo, and they're promoting it as if it's already a done deal. So that is a big concern for me because it hasn't been approved as far as I'm aware. We purchased our home in August of 2021. We closed in November 22, and at the time we bought the lot and bought the home, it was listed as a city park, not anything recreational. And we're also told that the community next to that was going to be a family community, not a 55-plus community, so that the individuals in that neighborhood would not have access to our amenities. So there shouldn't have been as much need for the additional recreation center. We bought our home with the expectation of living in tranquility and not listening to the sounds of the pickleball and all of that, and the yelling and screaming that go along with that. I spend every morning, afternoon, and evening in our lanai, even in the middle of the summer. I have all my meals out there, and I've enjoyed the solitude, listening to the birds, the water, hearing the fish jumping in and out, and I have actually recorded some of that, so I can have that as proof that we're going to lose this at one point. I'm extremely concerned that all of those, the solitude will be a thing of the past, and we won't have access to that anymore. There was a discussion at the last meeting from the attorney from GL that there'll be a buffer, but there's no detail on that for us to even know what they're talking about and how that will really provide us with some reassurance and, you know, that we won't have the loud noises. I agree that many of the possible continuation of building more communities, because I think there's at least 2 more after Vista. And if they make them 55 plus and above, older, we need the additional recreation center because we've already outgrown the one that we already have, and the pickleball courts. And I've enjoyed the pickleball courts, and I've enjoyed the recreation center. But there's a lot of undeveloped land the GL still has that is not right up against an existing community that was told there's going to be a city park. So my whole point is that there is an opportunity for them to have this somewhere else. And we're all for it. I think everybody's going to enjoy it, just not right up against a community that was never told this was going to happen when they bought their homes. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Aranovici?
Thank you for this opportunity to address this very important matter. I'm here to read a memo written by a fellow resident and good friend who regretfully, because it's during the summer, is unable to be here since they summer up north, as many of the residents who would be of concern about this matter are also out of town. This friend wrote, and resident, I live on Coral Cove Parkway, and my home is adjacent to the proposed project to utilize a portion of the land previously intended to be used for a park to a complex with indoor and outdoor pickleball courts and athletic center. GL is proposing to build this complex in response to the demands of the growing community's desire for a more athletic facilities. As an avid pickleball player and regular utilizer of the fitness center, I acknowledge the need for additional courts and appreciate the proposal to expand the current capacity. The proposed site plan, however, includes 8 indoor courts and 24 outdoor courts. While we welcome the addition of pickleball courts, we are very concerned about the noise level generated by the 24 outdoor courts. We know from our current experience that sound level often approaches or exceeds the allowable limits of 65 decibels, and we anticipate the same levels of noise in this proposal. I would encourage all of the council members, if you have not already done so, to visit the pickleball courts at Riverland during peak hours to get a sense of the noise level and take into consideration that the noise is significantly higher in October through May when the courts are fully utilized. Recognizing that this meeting is to discuss the proposed modification to GL's plans, I would like to offer the following suggestions. 1, approve the project only if all the pickleball courts are indoors. This would be a win-win for residents and GL, as the indoor pickleball courts can be used in extreme heat as well as inclement weather. Given GL's demonstrated popularity and significant investment in the future growth in Port St. Lucie, this would be a tremendous marketing tool for GL in the sale of future homes. This would satisfy some of the needs of existing residents because they can be used in all weather conditions. In addition, concerns about noise from outdoor courts would be eliminated, or somewhat eliminated, may I add. 2, if the council decides to approve the rezoning of the land for the proposed purpose of additional facilities allowing outdoor pickleball courts, the placement of the courts should be furthest away from Grove residents, with the placement of the indoor facility fitness center closest to the existing homeowners to act as a sound barrier. Additionally, mature landscaping and a wall should be included in the plan for sound reduction. Thank you for the opportunity to present these comments. I want to say that this goes very close to all of our hearts and our concerns in a growing time when many things seem to be out of our control, and I'm a retired law enforcement officer. The opportunity to be heard and understood about our sincere concerns is much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your service.
Mr. Gottlieb? Good evening.
My name is Kurt Gottlieb. I want to thank you for listening to us. I wanted to mention that about 2 weeks ago, we were outside of the existing pickleball courts that were, when the residents of the K and the Grove moved in, the sports complex was designated for an area. People knew they were moving into the proximity of these courts, and they were fine with it. Again, as stated before, we were told that it was going to be a city park with a few commercial buildings next to us and so forth. So obviously, changing the zoning is something that will disturb not only the residents within 750 feet, but the pickleball sounds go a lot further than that. There are hundreds, probably 25% of the residents of Valencia Grove that are going to be disturbed by pickleball sounds and other sounds, swimming pool sounds, megaphones when they do what they do in the pools there, and so forth. We went out to the existing pickleball courts and the residents that were about 300 or 400 feet away with an 8-foot berm, a roadway in between, a parking lot in between that, and we still heard loud noises from the pickleball courts. I think that with all the land that Riverland, that exists in Riverland, that zoning shouldn't be changed to afford the GL people their pickleball areas, their health clubs and so forth, when they can put that zoning someplace else where there aren't residents. You know, it could be towards the water facility, it could be towards Discovery Way, it could be someplace further south that doesn't disturb their other community. So again, I request that the zoning not be changed or at least moved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Those are all the cards that I had signed up to speak. Would anyone else like to address this matter?
I would.
Come forward.
I'm just kind of curious, as I listen to this and you talk about zoning, I don't quite understand it, and I'm sure there's probably some other people that don't quite understand it, so I'll be okay looking dumb. I'm good with that. But help me understand, when it comes to zoning and stuff like, this used to be agricultural land, okay? And I don't know about anybody else, but I would prefer agricultural over city any day of the week. But when you have a business, it's kind of hard to make a balance of that. So when people are trying to change things up, or people that live around these things that are being changed up, like what they're doing, okay, do you get to do the zoning change even though the people disagree? I mean, do we have any say whatsoever at what happens in that zoning? Because I don't understand it. I'm sure there's some other people that might not quite understand it. And I'm trying to understand what rights do we actually have on our property and how things are, because it kind of seems like everything that we get to say is actually ours is actually the city's, and you get to tell us what to do with it. So please help me understand that if it could, because my vote is my vote, and you ask for my vote, but you don't listen to anything else I say, so I'm just trying to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address?
Again, my name's Steven Giordano.
Were you sworn in?
Sorry?
Were you sworn in?
Was I sworn in?
Yes, this is a quasi-judicial matter. You have to be sworn in before you speak. Mr. Pelton, were you sworn in, sir?
No, just sworn at.
Madam Clerk, can you please swear them in?
I do. If they do first. I will tell the truth if they do first. You started it.
Sally.
I just want to say that, you know, from hearing what all the constituents and all the, you know, taxpayers here in Port St. Lucie, I feel that we need to slow down the growth. I think that we've come to a point of roughly 280,000 residents where we're just taking away all the greenery. And we need to raise the impact fees and we need to slow down the growth. And that's what I think that we should do. And you guys should take a look at that and stop just approving and approving and approving and stop being a yes city. I think you guys need to seriously deep dive into what best fits the community. And what does the community want? What does the people want? This is who pays the taxes. This is who pays all the bills. You guys need to do what's in the best interest of the people, not you guys, or self-interest, or take campaign donations from developers consistently over and over and over. We're here. We're taxpayers. We're making these, we're talking. We're here. We're not going nowhere. Okay, do what's in the best interest of the people. Stop doing them for yourselves. We don't need politicians. We need people who listen to the residents. We're the taxpayers. Work for the people, period.
Would anyone else like to address the council? Come forward, sir. Sir, were you sworn in?
I stood.
Okay, thank you.
How are you this evening? Thank you for listening to me.
Sure.
My name is William Chapman. I'm a resident of the Grove. And when we first came to GL, they sold us a dream. They sold us something that was going to blow our minds. And so far it has. Now we get a piece of paper in the mail saying how this new development is going to affect us. I'm a little nervous. And
It's okay, take your time.
you look at the property and there's so much land. Why do they have to infringe on us? Okay, does it make it easier for them? Harder for us? That's not right. I came here thinking that, oh, this is going to be a great place to live. Now they're going to take some of that away from us.
Preach.
So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Council, any questions? Anyone want to go first? Go ahead. No?
You know, I'll ask some questions.
Go ahead.
So, could someone please provide me with the exact, relevant, specific language from the DRI, the Development of Regional Impact?
Well, and if I can ask a follow-up, while you do that, I think it's important for not only you do that, but also to, while you're on the subject of a DRI, explain please how it operates. And what does that mean? What is a DRI? And to the question that was asked, why are we obligated to consider that this evening?
Understood. Just to get to clarification, what exact language are you looking for, Councilman?
I want any language or sections relevant to this item that I want, that grants the rights or requires us or compels us to move forward with the rezoning.
Yeah.
And I think these presentations need to be a little bit more specific in that regard, because if we're required to vote for something, the case ought to be made and it ought to be clear. So you know, I think there's a lot of confusion because it's not laid out, and so I would just like that language on the record.
So basically explain about a DRI, what it is, what's granted in the DRI, and exactly what the process is. It is a complicated process for people to understand.
It's a large-scale development of regional impact, and these were approved back in 2006. So basically what it is, it's an amount of entitlements that's granted for a development, but within those entitlements are specific requirements that a developer has to do. Certain roadway improvements you have to address, your utilities you have to address, your parks and recreation you have to address, and then you have, and those are all your conditions of approval. So they end up being like 50, 60-page documents. But within that, there is a master plan. It's called Map H. And Map H basically outlines how the area is going to be developed. So within the Southern Grove, West Riverland Kennedy area, you have what's called the NCD land use, and that's a new community development district. And within that district, there are sub-districts. So every area of Riverland Kennedy is either designated as a residential area, a neighborhood village commercial area, and a mixed-use area, and all of that is shown on a map. And this particular area on that map is designated as a neighborhood village commercial area. Excuse me, Francis, but if you can go to the policy and the comprehensive plan, that shows what a neighborhood village commercial area is. And that's where it has 2 uses. It's supposed to be uses that serve the neighborhood. So it can be recreational uses, it can be commercial uses, and then they have to pick a minimum of 2 uses. And then they have to come back to you and rezone the property under like a PUD or an MPUD, in which they then outline how they're going to develop that property under that neighborhood village commercial use. So they choose to how it's going to be designed, what uses, we review it, and then it comes to you. But it is a rezoning. I don't know that I mean, it's a quasi judicial hearing that you get to decide, is this MPUD, you know, is this consistent with this land use, and this is how they lay it out. So I don't know that we would classify it as, I don't want to get into legal here, that we would classify it as a decision you have to make. It is a quasi judicial hearing for you to look at the MPUD, but the entitlements and the map, those are already established. You've already approved those. Or our council has approved those. I don't know if I've answered your question helpfully, but thank you.
You know, what I'm trying to get at is, it outlines certain uses that you were saying.
Right, I think it's right, Francis, if you could.
Yeah. So this area is located within the neighborhood village subdistrict, as Bridget was saying previously. So that subdistrict allows for this list of uses. So again, it's a mix of non-residential and residential uses. So commercial, offices, personal and household service establishments, institutional, public facilities, parks, playgrounds, and those other similar uses. But again, the uses are to be utilized by the surrounding neighborhoods.
So in essence, the fact that it was still agricultural,
right, they have
because the use is neighborhood commercial,
right,
it has to be rezoned because it can't remain agricultural.
exactly, yes, correct.
So that part is
That
basically.
part you do have to rezone it for it to be developed, correct?
Correct. That part is a formality.
Right.
Because of the fact that the use does not meet the zone.
Right, right,
That's what needs to be clarified.
right. It does have agricultural zoning at this time, so it cannot be developed.
Right.
Until it comes into a city zoning district, because this was land that was in St. Lucie County, annexed into the city in 2006, and then the DRI was approved, as well as, then they come in to rezone it,
Correct.
piece by piece, based on the overall master plan.
Correct.
So I was going to just say, so if I may, so so the question I think was asked was, do we have a right to refuse it? Yes, we have a right to refuse it, then we have a right to get sued after that. And I'm going to tell you why. And I just think it's important to, this is the way I understand it. So when GL purchased this land back in whenever, 2006, as it was stated on record, let's say it was all agricultural. It's like, and if I'm wrong in explaining this, you guys jump in. But to me, the best way to explain it is it's like an overlay. So essentially, when you buy this land, it's all ag. They come to the city and they do like an overlay, essentially, which is called an MPUD. In that MPUD, there's certain approvals ahead of schedule that they ask for. So for example, they say we want this much commercial square footage. We want to do this many units of homes. We're going to give the city X amount of acres and parks. And then we're going to do X amount in neighborhood commercial. Am I on track so far, right? Yes?
Yes, but just to clarify, it would be a DRI, not a
DRI, thank you. Because and DRIs are not, the state of Florida allowed DRIs and then they took them away, correct? Because I don't think they are even allowed to be created in Florida anymore, right? So we're dealing with an old set of circumstances.
But the ones that were approved
have to
stand.
be, yes, because
So
that's the law.
Let's not make sure we
That's
mix
the law.
that up.
So what happens is that then they bring in what's called a master plan, an MPUD that overlays where these uses are potentially going to go. This particular process, which I want an answer to the question because I keep hearing that 25 acres where the city was going to be a city park, from what I'm reading, this overlay was always going to be NCD, which is Neighborhood Commercial District. Am I right or wrong? Or was it I know sometimes depending on what the access point is, some things get changed. Was this supposed to be a city park at 25 acres at one point in time? Or is it a master overlay? Because right now it's ag and then it says NCD.
So it is NCD land use.
Okay.
Currently. There is a 2022 Parks Agreement, which is not part of this hearing tonight, that did involve some land swaps between the city and GL. Ms. Goldstein did mention it. It was in part of contemplation with their construction at the Paseo Park. If you look at the exhibit that's in the PowerPoint that Aslina put up, it does show that above the land that GL is retaining, there is going to be a city park, and then there's a city reverse osmosis plant.
So that's all within this.
So Ms. Goldstein's not rezoning the property that is the city's. It's just she has a picture that shows all three of them on it in her PowerPoint. She's talking about her GL's property. It's land use NCD, currently zoned Ag 5. This is a rezoning. If you review the material in the record and the council chose not to approve it, the applicant would need to redesign her project and then bring forward a rezoning. They cannot develop it without it being rezoned. But it has to be designed consistent with the comp plan of the DRI, or else the map H and all the other documents would have to be changed.
Now, in layman terms, because that's what I'm saying, in layman terms, bring it around full circle, because they pre-approved the use and did the overlay essentially of NCD, if we go back on that, because that's a contract and that's a promise, if we go back on that, is that a problem legally, Mr. City Attorney, potentially? And I hate to do that because that exposes, I understand that exposes legalities, but to the point that was asked, and I do get frustrated up here, just like the people in the audience, because I do want to say no sometimes. There's many times I want to say no, but unfortunately, legally, sometimes we cannot say no. So I'm sorry if we have to do that, but I just think it's the truth. It is what it is. Well, it's the same answer.
All right, so going to the legal portion of it, right? Every application, every denial, every approval runs the risk of litigation, right? It's kind of what this nation is built on, right? You can sue anyone for anything at any time. Whether or not that suit is successful is a different story. I think with regard to the DRI document itself or the agreement, there is some language that insulates the city on the city acting in its governmental capacity. So if you, sitting as a quasi-judicial board, find that, to Mary's point earlier, that this application is insufficient, they would have to come back and reapply. So yes, they have to develop it, but the rezoning would have to be approved to suffice with the overall plan as discussed. So I know it's like talking in circles, but there's different layers to it. So there's the DRI document that's like a contract. We have some language in that document that I believe, if anything happens, the city attorney will defend the council's decision. That's just my job.
Right. So as far as evidence goes, and when we're like doing evidence and we're trying to figure out what's consistent versus what's not consistent, would it be a fair statement that being that this overlay says that it's going to be NCD, if the applicant was proposing 10,000 homes versus what's currently being proposed, is that an NCD use legally? And that would be a reason for denial.
That would be a question I'd ask NCD. Is NCD under that?
No, NCD doesn't have homes under it like that, 10,000 homes.
Sorry, NCD is a land use. It's the
Correct.
overall land use. So
Right.
under if they wanted to turn around and develop this as residential, they'd have to change the land use on the map, the sub-district from the neighborhood village commercial to residential.
Right.
Okay.
So what I'm just saying is because the comp plan states that this is going to be NCD, and they're asking for a consistent use, then they are basically in agreement with what's been agreed with before. And that's what I'm just trying to state. If they came in with something different, they're really not coming in with something different. They're really coming in with the same thing that's currently been agreed to prior, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
It's consistent with what is allowed in an NCD district, yes.
Thank you. I mean, that's just, and I'm sorry, again.
Sir, please don't yell out, please. Anyone else have any questions right now? I'm going to ask Ms. Goldstein to come up. Ms. Goldstein, can you please come up? Does the applicant?
I know there's other people raising their hand. Do you want to explain that public to be heard is closed on this?
Yes, so public comment is closed on this. The public hearing is closed. I need to ask the applicant a question. Ms. Goldstein, has there been a public meeting with the neighbors in the area with regard to this issue?
No, it's just with Mr. Reardon regarding the issue of the buffer, and because
Can you pull the microphone down?
Oh, sorry. Because this is consistent with the comp plan, and the comp plan map, figure 1-4 shows this being NCD, which is neighborhood community, or new community development as the underlying land use. And as with every single parcel that we've come in, every single community that we have out here, all the 4 communities, parcel A, B, C, D, and E, each of Valencia community, we've had to do an MPUD to rezone it consistent with our Riverland Kennedy DRI development order. And so those communities, as shown in our map H of our development order that has been around since 2008, amendments here and there, but the map H consistently has, so for our communities, the land use was before ag, and then we had to rezone it to residential. When we did our town center, the land use was ag, and then consistent with the comp plan and our DRI development order, we rezoned it to commercial use, which was mixed use and neighborhood village commercial, as shown in our map H. Tonight before you is our rezoning from ag, consistent with our map H, is this property where the zoning is neighborhood village commercial. So we are following our map H in our development order that is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan of figure 1-4. So we're not changing any zoning designation, we're following what our map H has been shown.
So being that there are so many concerns from the residents, is GL willing to have a meeting with the residents on this issue? And in order to address the issues about buffering, about noise, and lighting and location?
Correct. As previously explained to Mr. Reardon at that time, like when we're, more into the process, because this is a straightforward rezoning. So when we actually have those specific details of the site plan, which include the construction plans, the layout of the specific buffers, the specific trees that are going to place, all those details that we have to do for every single site plan that we do for our MPUD rezoning, just like we did for our town center, for our mixed-use areas, for the development of that site and that site plan, you actually get into all of the specific details of the building location, of the buffering, of all those things. But right here, this is just rezoning. We don't have those details yet for the site plan because that's not this process. At that time, when we're ready to get there and when we have those details, we will be more than happy to share that information and meet with everybody to discuss what's planned. But until then, we're just here at the straightforward rezoning.
It's hard to hear when everyone's yelling out or talking loud, so if you could please keep it down, I appreciate it. Yes, go ahead.
Stephanie was in
Oh,
first.
go ahead, Councilwoman.
So we're getting way too in the weeds. This is a rezoning application. Most of that, all that property out there was Ag 5. And now it's piece by piece. It's consistent with the comp plan. It's to be neighborhood commercial development. We're just getting way too much in the weeds, I think, and going off track. You have another bite at the apple. The plans are not even, they haven't even made application to do that, which it will come back. So I'm just asking if we could kind of reel it in, only because, and I understand, but this is strictly the rezoning. It will come back at a later date and go through the channels again.
So, and Ms. Goldstein, it's difficult. The city has grown tremendously, as we all are aware of and we know. And as we have more people that have moved in, they don't understand this process. And as straightforward as this is, I understand how legally binding this is as a board. I would really appreciate very much if you'd be willing to just table for even if it's just one meeting to sit down with the residents to explain the process and answer their questions, because we are trying to do that from this dais, and I think there's just a lot of information that they need to understand, and I'm sorry if it feels, I'm sorry to slow it down, but I think we might just need to give people the opportunity to really, and like you said, we don't have the plans, the site plans, and I hear you don't have the site plans, but even this part of the process, I don't think they comprehend it, and I think it's important to have those conversations and answer those questions.
And that's why I asked the question, because there are many times where we say and we ask the developers to have a neighborhood meeting and go over everything. We've done it many, many times where we've said, can we take a step back and make sure that everyone is meeting together so that there can be a better understanding. And so that's what I would like to see, and that's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
And I would be in favor of tabling it until there is at least a neighborhood meeting to have the conversation. I think it's only fair, given what's happening. Because there's are a lot of questions out there.
But, and I'm just gonna tag on, but wouldn't that be at the time where they had plans and they knew what they were gonna do, and they would have the site plan, and they would have...
Please, please, please. We've done this before. We've done it before. Mary, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, if I may, that's a great suggestion to perhaps table, although it may create an additional delay. We have done this before. I would suggest that if that's a possibility, that would allow staff time to perhaps develop a condition about enhanced buffering. We could, talk with the applicant.
Mm-hmm.
You have done this before, especially when there was a desire to have a more specificity on what the buffer was, right, between the development and the residences. So that would not be something you haven't done before if you did that today. So you could, it is an option out there, although perhaps not the most desirable for the applicant, but.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to table ordinance 2673 to dates uncertain.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, Mary?
Request, if I may, to reconsider. We did pay and mailed the butters notices and did legal advertising.
Mm-hmm.
If you table the date uncertain, we'll have to pay for all of that again. It's certainly your purview, but if you would table to a date certain.
We can re-advertise. It's not
Okay.
that expensive. That can be done. So, anything else from the council before I call the question?
If we did table to a date certain and it got to that meeting and it wasn't ready, would we then be able to table to another date certain?
We would.
Okay, so to avoid that cost, I would like to amend the motion to table to,
You've got to amend it first.
oh, well,
I made the motion, but what's acceptable? Ms.
Perhaps
Wilson?
August 24th, that gives.
time.
Ample time?
24th?
Give us approximately 30 days, so that's perfect.
To the August
Table to a
24th.
date certain, we'll be able to have the meetings and inform the residents with what information we have.
I'll table correct my motion to table it to August 24th meeting.
all right, second.
Okay. Any final discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So before we move on to resolutions, and we'll take a break before we move on, but Mr. Levesque, did you want to come up on 7B really quick? I know we tabled that. That's okay. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Was it something I said?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry you had to wait.
Okay, sorry. This is small potatoes compared to what's going on right now. But anyway, I happened to look at the agenda for tonight, and that item 7 Bravo that I was talking about before, I'd like to say a few words about that. It's going to be real quick.
Sure.
I'm here to speak about the request that you received. It was a letter for supporting the Banner Lake Academy back-to-school event in Hobe Sound next month. The letter reads partially like this. It says, "We are reaching out to the city of Port St. Lucie to see if they might be willing to support this effort through a donation, sponsorship, advertisement opportunity, and other community calendars and so forth, and spread the word and increase community involvement." And it goes on to speak more about financial support. Now, this is not in our city, it's not in our county, and it's a nonprofit organization that's requesting funds, tax funds from us. And I don't think that's appropriate. I think that in light of the upcoming November vote, where we're all going to vote yes on Amendment 3 on the ballot, to lower our property taxes, now would not be the time to be using our tax dollars to support nonprofit school functions that are not in this city and not in our county. Any monetary support for this nonprofit should come from Hobe Sound or Martin County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just want to let you know, it was tabled. I think there was question with regard to the location.
Right.
It was not for funding. It was just for utilization of partnership with the city. But you're absolutely correct. There's question about location
Okay.
that I think that for some reason got missed somehow, and that's why it was tabled by
Okay,
our
okay.
Assistant City Manager.
Well, it's supposed to be on August 8th, so it's probably moot anyway.
Yes,
So-
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we are going to take a 15-minute break. Okay, we're back from the break. We're moving on to resolutions. Item 11A, Resolution 26-R53.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, granting a special exception use application pursuant to Section 158.100C4 to allow an enclosed assembly area without an alcoholic beverage license for on-premises consumption of alcoholic beverages in the OSR zoning district for a project known as Remade Church, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Ex parte communications, I have met with the
So have I.
applicant before.
So
have I. Okay, great.
Good
Go
evening,
ahead.
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Council, staff. The item before you is the Remade Church Incorporated Special Exception Use. Again, for the record, my name is Francis Foreman. I'm with the Planning and Zoning Division. I have been sworn in, and the official city packet has been given to the city clerks 5 days prior to this meeting. Madam Clerk, if you could please enter that file into the record. The applicant for this application is Robert Brown of Remade Church Incorporated, with the owner being Remade Church Incorporated. This project is located on the southwest corner of Southwest Kimball Circle and Southwest Kentwood Road. The request before you is a special exception use to allow an enclosed assembly without an alcoholic beverage license for on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages in the Open Space Recreation, or OSR, zoning district per Section 158-100C4 of the Zoning Code of Ordinances. This is an aerial of the overall subject site, with the subject site actually being outlined here in yellow. The overall area does have a future land use designation of RL, or low residential, with compatible zoning district of RS2, or single family residential. This site is located within the Whispering Pines POA. This is the proposed conceptual site plan. This site plan was approved back in 1978, so that's why it's a little older. Everything that's here located in black is currently existing, so from the building to the parking to the courts and everything else that's on that plan is existing as of today. Everything in red is what is going to be proposed as far as parking goes. Per Section 158-260 of our Zoning Code of Ordinances, any special exception use must meet additional criteria to come forward through this process. That criteria includes adequate ingress-egress, off-street parking, properly located utilities, buffering, lighting, and overall compatibility with the surrounding uses. The proposal as it is now is proposing to meet all of the code standards for these sections of this criteria. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of this special exception use at their July 7th, 2026 meeting with the following condition recommended by staff. And that condition reads, a site plan application with landscape and construction plans shall be submitted and approved prior to issuance of any permits. The improvements shall be completed prior to the proposed church use initiating within the building. This condition is, again, just to verify that the site plan and the construction plans come in, since this was built back in '78, just to bring it forward to make sure that it's meeting all of today's code standards, as well as anything that's going to be provided as far as parking is in place prior to the use being opened. This concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions you may have for staff, as well as the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No? Thank you. Would you like to make a presentation? Good? Okay. This item is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R53.
Second.
Second, third,
Fourth. Under discussion, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So if anyone had to learn about zoning, it is this gentleman in the audience right here.
Yes.
And this has been, I know, a laborious process, and I appreciate you moving it forward the way that you have. Staff, this is a very broad recommendation. I will support the recommendation, but I also want to make sure that the recommendation is consistent to what he's currently doing, like what he's going to be doing as well. You know, I've already examined the property with him, discussed these things, and so I understand we need to deal with some of these things, but I just want to make sure we just don't go overboard. That's all. Thank you.
Correct. This is a SEU. SEUs typically need a conceptual site plan, and then when there's improvements to the property, you do need to have a site plan approval, and that's what this condition is intended.
And will the site plan approval come before the site plan, beside, to us or to you? To the SPRC, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It may even be administrative depending on what comes in.
Perfect. That saves a step. So I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And just point of clarification, that was a motion to approve with the condition?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, with the condition. Thank you. 11B, Resolution 26-R54.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, granting a special exception use application pursuant to Section 158.124C14 to allow a standalone restaurant with drive-through service lanes in the general commercial zoning district for a project known as Darwin Square, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Any ex parte communications to disclose?
No.
No, me either. Go ahead.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Council, staff. The item before you, again, is the Darwin Square Pollo Tropical Special Exception Use. Sorry to inform you, I am not Cody Sisk. I am, again, Francis Storm with the Planning and Zoning Division. I have been sworn in, and the official city packet has been given to the city clerks 5 days prior to
You guys
this
could look
meeting.
like brothers.
A little bit. Madam Clerk, if you could please enter that packet into the record. The agent for this project is this Corporate Property Services Incorporated, with the owner being PSL Darwin LLC. This site is located at 3201 Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard, with the request being an approval of a special exception use to allow a restaurant with a drive-through service lane in the general commercial zoning district per section 158-214C14 of the Zoning Code of Ordinances. This is an aerial of the overall area, with the subject site being outlined here in yellow. This may look familiar to you. This is located within that Darwin Plaza. This is the location of the currently vacant bank that used to be there. This is that site that's going to be, they're going to be redeveloping that bank that's currently vacant. The overall area does have a mixture of future land uses, but the surrounding immediate properties do have a future land use of general commercial with a consistent or compatible zoning district of general commercial as well. Again, currently the uses immediately abutting this property are commercial, from a fast food restaurant to Publix's and other commercial type uses. This is the conceptual site plan that was brought forward, with the stacking and the drive-through being faced inside of the plaza, not towards the main road. This is the conceptual landscape plan, which is proposed to meet the current code standards. This is the elevation of the proposed Pollo Tropical, with the north and the east elevations, as well as the south and the western elevations. As like the previous application, every special exception use does need to come forward and meet additional criteria per section 158-260 of the zoning code. That criteria, again, is adequate ingress and egress, off-street parking, utilities, buffering, lighting, and overall just compatibility with the area. The proposal is coming forward with certain, or meeting this laid out criteria. There was a previously approved variance for the parking, making it allowable and meeting the code that is, or the requirements as set in that variance. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval at their July 7th Planning and Zoning Board of this special exception use. This concludes my presentation as staff. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. I believe the applicant is also here and does have a presentation.
Any questions? No. Okay, go ahead.
First, the curbing that's already there in place, that's going to remain around the bank, or where the old bank was at. There's curbing there to keep people from just driving in and out of it. That's going to remain.
On the exterior of the property?
Yes.
I believe so, but I will leave that to the applicant to verify that for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
No.
Thanks so much. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Craig McDonald with Corporate Property Services on behalf of Pollo Tropical. We're talking about the abandoned bank. There's no bank there now, but the building was a bank with a drive-through at 3201 Southwest Port St. Lucie Boulevard. What we're looking for, requesting a special use exception for a 2,841 square foot standalone Pollo Tropical restaurant with a drive-through. As was stated, the parking variance was granted for 20 parking spaces back on June 2nd by the P&Z board. Today, these type of restaurants do about 70–75% of the business to the drive-through, so the need for that many excess parking spaces just isn't needed today. The site is located within Darwin Square, which you got McDonald's, you got the hospital behind us, and then the public, so it fits well within the commercial general zoning. This is the site plan. To answer your question, basically, going back real quick. Oops, sorry. How do I get back there? Sorry about that. I went the way. Small arrow goes back. I gotcha. Perfect. To answer your question, you can see the bank. All the access is going to remain the same, except on the bottom right-hand corner of the red dotted line in the southeast corner. That's going to be closed off because we're going to wrap our queuing around. But all the other access as it exists today remains.
I was just concerned because that's the major ingress and egress
Yes, sir.
into that
Yeah.
plaza. So that's
Cars won't be able to
that's
just
what
come in and
prompted my question. Thank you.
This is the site plan. As you can see, we're back in that corner, there's a trash enclosure facing to the northeast, but it's heavily landscaped all the way around the perimeter of the site. All the parking is on the west side, abutting Port St. Lucie Boulevard. On the north, it's an access easement that runs east and west there. When we were at the P&Z board, people brought up queuing. We'd already done queuing for really the peak hour for them as lunch, but we went and did it for also dinner time as well. And right now, we're providing 12 stacking vehicles from the pay window where you pick up your food back to where you enter, and then one vehicle after you pick up your food. People stop, check their bag, whatnot. Just gives a little room before they have to stop and exit. Kimberly Horn did the study. It was here in Port St. Lucie, Stewart, and Jupiter, 3 other Pollo Tropical restaurants. The counts were taken during peak hour, which is lunch, 11 a.m. to 1:55, and then from 4 to 8 p.m. The maximum number of vehicles observed at any given time in the drive-through were 9 vehicles. So the proposed 10 vehicles we're proposing will adequately meet the maximum demand for queuing. And with that, here's just some of the renderings, what it's going to look like. I'd be happy to answer your questions the council has.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just have one question about the parking queuing. What is the parking queuing currently in St. Lucie West? That location, do you know how many vehicles get queued there?
On St. Lucie, what was the maximum number that queued there?
Yeah, in St. Lucie West.
Let's see. Adam Kerr's our traffic engineer.
Thank you.
He may know quicker than I can look it up for you. Like the maximum number there looks like it was 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it's more. than what it currently is in St. Lucie West.
Yeah, we have 12, so
Yeah.
there were 2 times where it looked like it was 9.
Yeah, correct. Adam Kerr with Kimley Horn and Associates. Yes, the maximum was 9 at the St. Lucie West location at 12:15.
And it's a different, just because I know the restaurant, this particular restaurant very well, in the sense that it is a different restaurant. The food is made a little differently, so it's not as quick and fast food as, your regular fast food restaurants. So the queuing sometimes in St. Lucie West goes outside of the queuing space and then into the drive, in a sense. What will happen if you go over 12 here? Like, where would the additional queuing take place?
We would probably push back into the interior of the property because, you certainly wouldn't queue back out to block the drive aisle for the main shopping center.
Okay.
So if it happened, it would be there, but it's not going to happen earlier.
Okay. I'm just glad you have more queuing than St. Lucie West, because that one does sometimes get, I think especially in the evening, get overwhelmed a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, when you're getting one on the east side. Got one in West, one in Darwin.
We'll let them know.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Motion to approve resolution 26-R54.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11C, Resolution 26-R55.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, amending the fee for upland preservation mitigation as provided in Section 157.06 of the Code of Ordinances, requiring that the fee be analyzed by staff annually, and if the data indicates a change of greater than 5%, staff bring forward a proposal to amend the fee for council to consider, providing for conflict, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R55.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do.
Okay.
I totally missed this memo. I think it's currently at 25,000 and wanting to raise it to 85,000.
Councilwoman Morgan, the recommendation before you is to raise it to $85,500. When the memo was written originally, it was back in April. The fee has been fine-tuned, and we workshopped $85,500. And so that's what's in the resolution.
And then back in 2015, it went, well, from 05 at 105 to 2015 to 170,171 with the 5% annual inflation provision. And then in 17, it was 25.
So interestingly, it was 105 in 2005, and then in 2007, it went up to 140,000 per acre with a 5% increase annually. It continued to increase. It was 170,171 in 2015. It continued to increase, and before it was reduced in 2017, in 2017, the fee had actually increased up to $217,000. And so I cannot speak specifically, as I was not here when those rolling increases were happening, but it was an automatic inflation in there. And my understanding is in 2017, the council pulled it back down and said 25,000 you reduced it to. And so in looking at all of the old resolutions, it seems like for a while it wasn't changing. Then we had this like inflationary thing, and it looked like it was changing, perhaps, I don't want to say unchecked, but it was escalating. So when we brought this forward to you, there was a couple of considerations. One is the price of land is certainly above $25,000 an acre in the undeveloped area to the west. The code does require land to be preserved as part of development. However, if a developer is unable to do so, there is an option for them to propose to pay a fee in lieu of. That's what this is. It's proposed, it allows an option, we shall say. staff's perception is that $25,000 really is low. That money goes into our conservation fund. What is the conservation fund used for? It can be used to buy more green space, which is one of the priorities of the council. It can also be used to improve those conservation lands, like develop a passive park, mitigate invasives. And so staff had worked with finance to identify an appropriate fee, but the resolution before you suggests that we review it annually. And if the price either of the land comps either goes up or down more than 5%, that we come back to you to have an adjustment instead of just having it roll until it really doesn't seem to be related to the cost of land. And so that's what the resolution is before you, to say we're asking that you approve an increase to $85,500 with a condition that staff review it annually, and if the recommended price of land deviates more than 5%, it could go down if we have a recession, that we come back to you and ask you to adjust it.
Okay, it's my understanding that this is a mitigation fee. This is strictly for when a development is not able to preserve an upland habitat on site. And it just seems like an exorbitant amount of money. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I must have missed this memo, and when I saw this, I just thought it was extremely high. I'm not really in favor of it jumping that much, but I'm only one of 5, and I just wanted to get that on the record. So, and were there meetings on this, stakeholder meetings?
So that's a great point. We did have 2 stakeholder meetings in July on our fee schedule increase, and this was discussed at both of those. One was July 8th and one was July 16th. They were both hybrid. One was in the evening and one was during the day. And relative to the fee, how we arrived at that, we worked with the finance department. You're correct, this is in lieu of preservation of land, you know. Finance took a look at the comps of the undeveloped land that would likely to be the subject of this, or what we would purchase for upland mitigation. And the finance department got several recent sales. They took out the highest one and they took out the lowest one. And then they did an average, and then they recommended this fee to us as a middle of the road, reasonable comp for if the city were to go out and try to purchase land. So that's how the fee was arrived upon. It's council's purview to set it as what you deem fair.
Well,
Are you done, Councilwoman Morgan?
I'm done.
Okay.
see, I was on the opposite spectrum, which that we're booking, so that happens sometimes. I thought it was too low. I was like, I actually thought it should be higher. But, I do understand that finance has a methodology, essentially, to ensure that we're being fair, because you don't want to be unfair. And I do understand why it increased, because obviously there was a point in time where you can even get a quarter-acre lot for under $100,000 in Port St. Lucie in the early 2000s. So I understand the fluctuation, but I think that currently this is a fair price. Would I like to see it even double that? Absolutely. I'm like, but I think you have to be fair, and this is a middle ground, I guess. So I'm in support of it.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
Motion, I think it was a motion and a second already. Am I right?
Oh, sorry. Yep, we
It was
did have a
discussion.
motion. That's right, it was discussion. Yeah,
Well,
did you have something?
Well, I just wanted to say this is a tough one for me, because I don't ever want to see a fee go up over 300%. That's just, we have to have some predictability, and the fact that we haven't looked at this, it seems, I don't know, since 2017, is troubling to me. On the other hand, requiring green space, making people that are developing be accountable and pay for their fair share and pay for their impacts is important, and, you consider if that inflation adjustment had been in effect since 2017, kind of where we would be, and then the rational nexus that our finance department used in the comps. I think I'm comfortable with this one. I'm very uncomfortable with the process. I'm very uncomfortable with how we got here. And so I just wanted to get that on the record, because I'm not gonna vote this down because the process was flawed, because the fee should be based on the impact. And I'm just really troubled with that 2017 number, with that 2017 year, and I want to get that on the record. Thank you.
And if I may offer to the council, this isn't a mandatory fee.
Right.
Obviously, we would prefer that all the developers preserve their open space and follow the code, and every development incorporates additional untouched upland habitat area in its pristine form. So they're not required to do this. This is, they can request it. And so I just want to be clear that this is not something that we're imposing on them. They choose to request to pay a fee in lieu of preserving that land.
But,
Yeah, it's a fee in lieu of, yeah.
but it's not open space per se. It's not OSR.
Correct.
Because it's upland habitat protection.
Right.
So if they have a development and there's some reason they can't preserve that area, then they pay to have it mitigated.
Correct.
Yep, that's what it is. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, me.
Okay. 11. Okay. 11D, Resolution 26-R56.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the acceptance of an easement to the City of Port St. Lucie over a portion of real property described as Tract A, Southern Grove, Plat Number 39, as recorded in Plat Book 109, page 30 of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, for the installation and maintenance of traffic signal improvements, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R56.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11E, Resolution 26-R57.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the acquisition of real property described as Lot 1, Block 1662, Port St. Lucie, Section 5, as recorded in Plat Book 12, pages 15, 15A through 15E of the Public Records of St. Lucie County, Florida, for public safety purposes as being a public necessity, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to take any and all appropriate actions to acquire the subject property in fee simple, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R57.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11F, Resolution 26-R58.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, relating to the provision of voluntary culvert repair services in the City of Port St. Lucie, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provisions of notice thereof, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R58.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11G, Resolution 26-R59.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the city manager or written designee to enter into and execute grant agreements related to law enforcement and traffic safety, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R59.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11H, Resolution 26-R60.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida relating to the provision of stormwater management services in the City of Port St. Lucie, reimposing and increasing stormwater service fees against commercial and residential developed and undeveloped property located within the City of Port St. Lucie for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2026, continuing thereafter until amended, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R60.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11I, Resolution 26-R61.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida relating to residential street lighting within the residential street lighting assessment areas in Port St. Lucie, Florida, establishing the assessment rate for residential street lighting services against assessed property located within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2026, directing the preparation of assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R61.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11J, Resolution 26-R62.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida relating to the collection and disposal of solid waste and recyclable materials in the city, establishing the assessment rate for solid waste service assessments against assessed property located within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2026, directing the preparation of assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11K, Resolution 26-R63.
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, authorizing the final acceptance of public roadway improvements for Crosstown Parkway 2B, constructed by Oak Ridge Ranches LLC, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R63.
I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 11I. Do we do the presentation first? Let's do the presentation first.
Mayor, this is
which is
11L.
L.
Sorry.
I'm sorry,
I was
11L.
gonna say, where's I?
It looks, because it,
Lowercase.
yeah, exactly.
It's late.
It is. Let's do the presentation for half-cent sales tax before we do the resolution.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, residents that are still in attendance. I'm going to keep it very short because I know it's a late night, so I won't go over our bios as we've been adding the presentations very much, but essentially we want to try and present to you the proposed 4 different types of projects that would be on the ballot in November if St. Lucie County decides to give the residents the opportunity to vote on extending the half-cent sales tax. So as Eric will be going through this presentation for us, it's essentially 4 projects. The premier project would be St. Lucie West widening, then it would be repaving, sidewalk master plan projects, as well as some stormwater projects. And to not take it on any farther, I'll turn over to Eric. Thank you.
And with regard to the sidewalks, that would be, we already have a 10-year sidewalk master plan. It would be the next plan going
Correct.
forward, correct?
Which we'll bring back before council. Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, City Council, City Manager's Office, Attorney's Office, and staff and residents. What we've been asked to do is present to you our proposal for how the half-cent sales tax would be spent and utilized should it be approved on the ballot, if it makes the ballot. And I'll answer a couple of questions that came up earlier related to sidewalk master plan as an example. But we did want to call out and make sure that the residents are aware that this does require placement on the ballot, and then it would require an approval by a majority of the voters. It is not a super majority, it's a majority. And under our current and proposed half-cent sales tax program for the next 10 years, we look at three kind of components: better roads, more sidewalks, and cleaner rivers. And so on last Wednesday at the summer workshop, we presented to council and the residents and staff really 4 presentations. One was on St. Lucie West, one was on half-cent sales tax, one was on the CIP projects, and one was on stormwater. What we've tried to do is consolidate here a little bit more information and seek your guidance on if this meets the council's will. So we've identified 4 categories rather than 4 projects that would be utilizing the funding from the half-cent sales tax if it were approved for the 2029 through 2038 10-year plan. First and foremost is St. Lucie West Boulevard widening and improvements. It is a key focus. It is also something that TPO has recommended be focused on. It is something that affects really the entire city in terms of connectivity. The second priority would be resurfacing citywide. The third priority would be sidewalk and community connections, also citywide. And then the fourth category would be water quality and drainage improvements citywide that would be outside of the stormwater fee funding. For St. Lucie West Boulevard widening, the challenge was that it is a major corridor that experiences peak hour congestion and crashes, and that was highlighted during the presentation last Wednesday. The solution is to widen St. Lucie West Boulevard and would provide significant operational improvements. And the benefit is to ensure that the major corridor of the city allows traffic to move safely and effectively. For resurfacing citywide, the challenge is managing the city's existing roadway network and balancing other priorities for both funding and a limited budget. The solution, being a timely and effective maintenance, can extend the pavement's life and reduce costly replacement in the future. And the benefit is that it provides for enhanced safety for vehicle and pedestrian travel. Freshly resurfaced roadway has environmental benefits and requires less maintenance and enhances the overall appearance and improves fuel efficiency. And we'll talk a little bit more of each of these as we get into the deck. Under sidewalk and community connections, again, citywide, this is the challenge of expanding the sidewalk network with an emphasis on connecting communities to local services. Construct the sidewalks listed in the updated sidewalk master plan within 10 years. And then the benefit is providing residents with a safe place to walk and bike to schools, parks, businesses, and local services, promoting exercise, a healthy lifestyle, and a reduction in vehicle trips. Sidewalks also promote safety and connectivity. For the proposed half-cent sales tax revenue, we worked with the finance department. Just a little bit of background. The current 10-year half-cent sales tax, which has been approved and ratified by the voters and expires in 2028, we expect to generate approximately another $45.8 million over the remaining 10-year life of that program. That information was utilized along with other information by finance to generate a projection of the next 10-year should it be approved by both to be placed on the ballot and then approved by the voters. And we're looking at approximately $173.9 million over that next 10-year period that would take us through 2038. I know this is a difficult slide to read, but it is in the materials, and what we were trying to call out is in the first column are the years, and we tried to look at this by year because the projections are by year. And the projected revenue, if you notice on the bottom second column, is that $173.9 million. The next column is St. Lucie West, and we've earmarked $120 million on that project. As we go through the next phase of planning and design, as that number becomes more clear as to what the actual requirements are to do the build, we will refine that number, and then potentially any number that is different than that, that's lower, we would then be able to allocate to one of the other 3 categories. And that's St. Lucie West Boulevard. The next one is resurfacing, and again, we'll touch on this a little bit more in the deck, but as you can see, we're allocating a significant amount in the first 2 years of the plan to try to catch up, because we also know that funding has been lowered in the last 2 years of the current 10 years. And so we have placed additional revenue in there to help offset, to allow us to continue that with approximately $31.6 million for resurfacing, funded specifically by the half-cent sales tax program. We also fund that through alternate means, and I'll touch on that in a minute. For sidewalk and community connections, we've earmarked $1.5 million per year to address sidewalks, with a total for that 10-year period, should it be approved, of $15 million. This is specifically, again, for half-cent sales tax, but we have other programs that help in terms of sidewalk connectivity. And then the final category was the water quality and drainage improvements, again, the Cleaner River component. And we've earmarked 3 specific projects, which we'll touch on in a moment, and then some additional funding for smaller intermediate things that will also help with water quality, and that's $7.3 million. And again, over on the total right, we balanced $173.9 million. Under resurfacing, this is a little more detailed plan, but what we did want to call out for the board as well is just the reminder that for resurfacing and rejuvenation, we actually have 2 funding sources, but we would not be able to deliver on the commitment that was made of making sure that we hit 50% of our roads every 10 years, so that we basically recycle through our road program every 20 years, which is on the high end of the state average, which runs somewhere between 15 and 20 years. The second column is the actual proposed resurfacing from the sales tax, which would be the $31.6 million that I mentioned on the earlier slide. And we just wanted to call out that there's also a significant chunk that comes from the gas tax as well, which is the 87.8. So we're committing, if this is approved on the half-cent sales tax side, to about $119.4 million over a 10-year plan for resurfacing. From a sidewalk standpoint, and I should just go back to that as well, this is obviously subject to City Council's approval on the existing resurfacing plan that is renewed every year and projects out the next 10 years. We also do purchase orders at the beginning of the year for all of the programs so that we can get those lined up and assigned. And we mentioned that gas tax is also used for roadway preservation, which we don't do out of half-cent sales tax. On the sidewalk and community connections, again, back to the $1.5 million for the total of $15 million, with the caveat that we will be coming back to council with an actual next 10-year sidewalk master plan, as we described last week on Wednesday, so that you'll have an opportunity to give us direction on what that plan is. It will list out the specific sidewalks so that the next 10 years, again, should this be approved, would be the sidewalks that we focused on. And the last of the 4 components of the half-cent sales tax is the Clean Rivers through water quality and drainage improvements. We've listed 3 specific projects which were unfunded mandates, and that's the Hog Pen Stormwater Treatment Area, and that's a water quality project for $3 million. The Veterans Memorial Phase 4 and 5 water quality project at $1.7 million, and the Arosa Prima Vista Boulevard drainage improvements at $1.3 million. And then again, some additional neighborhood water quality improvements, which would be citywide, for another $1.4 million. And again, that totals the $7.4 million. As I mentioned earlier, these are unfunded mandates, and that's why we chose to weave them into the half-cent sales tax outside of the stormwater. And again, this is for neighborhood water quality improvements, and they will be spread throughout the life of the 2029-2038 half-cent sales tax program, should it be approved. And that was the presentation. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
We would like to seek your guidance on approving this approach. Should the actual half-cent sales tax measure be placed on the ballot and approved, this would be where we'd like to go with the plan, and then we would obviously continue to come back to you with the resurfacing plans, which are updated every year for the 10 years, and a new sidewalk master plan for the actual plan related to sidewalks.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
So on the, there's not a slide number, proposed spending by year 2029-38.
The main one? The one that has the 4 columns?
Yes.
Yes.
So I see that the projected revenue goes up incrementally, and it also needs to be noted, and I'm sure we all are going to say this is not just the residents of St. Lucie County paying the sales tax. This is anybody that comes into St. Lucie County and purchases something. Visitors, tourists, employees that live in another county, so they help with the burden. The next one, under the resurfacing, proposed timeline and expenditures, it's late. Proposed resurfacing sales tax. You may want to slide over one, there.
There, yes, ma'am.
So the proposed timeline here, or the sales tax, goes from 8.8 to 10, down to 2.6, and then down to 1 million. And then I look at the other one, the proposed resurfacing gas tax. This is revenue, correct?
Correct. Well, this is expenditures for clarity. So the revenue, the 2 years that are the 8.8 million under the resurfacing sales tax and the 10 million, those are higher. That's our proposed expenditure.
Okay.
To make sure that
All
we
right.
stay on track with meeting
Well,
the.
because I
Yes.
saw proposed resurfacing sales tax, and I thought it was coming in, and then I looked at the expenditures, and I'm like, something didn't.
Yes, ma'am. So that column
Okay.
is the expenditure column.
And so is the proposed resurfacing gas tax?
Yes, ma'am.
That is expenditure?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm done.
Good.
Eric, you said the resurfacing program would be about 20 years from,
So the goal has always been, and the commitment is to try to hit every 20 years, every road.
okay, so
Well,
hang on just a
Yep.
second. I'm going someplace with this.
Okay.
How many miles, lane miles, are we responsible for?
I'll defer to Colt for the total, but I do know.
That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
ask that question. Thank you.
So we have 926 center line miles, and that equates to roughly 1,933 total lane miles, if I'm recalling from memory correctly.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that was put out there because every 20 years sounds like a lot, but when we're responsible for 1,800, 1,900 miles, it kind of, everything goes full circle. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, if I may, from the presentation on Wednesday, as Thomas mentioned, that is all based on the rolling resurfacing program that comes before council, and they look at the PCI scores and the amount of traffic. If there's two roads that have the same PCI and one has more traffic, that's the road that gets the attention first. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the half-cent sales tax is only for repaving. So when we're doing the roadway preservation component, which he described, that would be coming out of gas sales tax. But that also helps to extend the life.
Any other questions? Just
If I
comments?
just may add in, sorry.
Yep.
To be accurate, it's 1,988 lane miles.
And Colt, if we drive 1,938 miles, what city do we end up in?
Holton, Maine. From Key West, Florida
To
to
Holton,
Holton, Maine is the distance.
Correct.
That's the number I have in my presentation, so I remember
So you say it all the time.
Yes.
No, I think that, too, in the future, as we have that conversation, it helps to kind of give comparatives to large cities. Because even if you take like Orlando, some of these cities that we're the third largest in land size, you would be surprised of like the comparison of how many lane miles we're responsible for in comparison to other people. One is, I just want to say that this is a renewal, correct? So we already have a sales tax.
That's
This is
correct.
a renewal. This is not a new thing.
If it goes on the ballot, but yes.
Correct. Also, in the discussion, in the larger discussion of property taxes, this is one of the very few tools that we have in our toolbox to be able to diversify our revenue stream, because there's not a lot of options that we have from a municipality standpoint. So this is a very important tool. And it also is a very important tool because it allows us to front load our projects as fast as possible. Because if we just did this from the general fund, for example, the projects you're proposing, if we just utilize general fund revenue sources, how long would it take to complete what you're asking to complete?
There'd be it would never get completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just going to say, I feel like we're looking at a 10-year plan versus a 30-year plan. Couple things. I'm glad we have preliminary discussions in regards to what we would like to see happen. No different than the last time we did this. I do want to see a full-fledged ordinance with specific projects that would come forward for approval if this was to move forward. And that would go for this year for sure. And then we would obviously still probably have by requirement, there will be a sales tax board. That board will also then oversee, and it's made up of citizens, of how the expenditures are done. And for future discussion too, because I want to make sure we lay down the foundation if this goes on the ballot, that obviously we're not promoting, because we can't promote approval or denial, But I do want to look into the, how do we share with the residents without looking like we're promoting, we're educating, that this was the sales tax that you already passed, and here are all the projects that were completed, because I think they would be very surprised to see basically everything we've done, pretty much everything's been completed, which is virtually impossible with the level of inflation that we've had in the last 10 years and all these other aspects. I think that's an important story to tell. And then I guess the last question I have is, because there's been a continual discussion in regards to whether this will be placed on the ballot or not placed on the ballot, what have you learned, Mr. City Attorney, in regards to like the city and having the ability to place this on the ballot for the, because I believe we should let the voters decide, obviously property tax, how they want to address that, but then they usually decide if like they want to be able to utilize the sales tax as an option as well.
Right, so I guess after the workshop and looking into the matter in Florida statutes, as you all know, the city of Fort Pierce and ourselves and the county all got together and had Fort Pierce and ourselves passed resolutions, essentially setting the surtax rate at 0.5 cent, calling for the referendum, and I think it's public knowledge that the county had a meeting on Tuesday where there was some trepidation and a discussion on whether to extend that, to place the referendum on a ballot later than 2026. So there's an issue there. I've had some initial fruitful discussions with both the county attorney and the attorney for the supervisor of elections on that matter. I anticipate having more conversations, and the subsequent item before you will be a resolution kind of formalizing all of that and moving this forward.
And Madam Vice Mayor, if I may, just to answer, or I guess add to what you asked about the Citizen Surtax Committee. Our plan, for those that are not aware, obviously the board is, but for the public, we do have a Citizen Surtax Committee. It meets regularly, quarterly. We provide monthly updates to that committee. We also provide quarterly updates to that committee. And then there is an annual presentation to that committee, and then that committee presents to you all on the dais in terms of the success and commitment of spending that money appropriately on the half-cent sales tax commitments that are made in the various plans that we submit before the council. So that is our plan to do that, again, should this pass and be extended through the next 10-year cycle.
So one last comment. You had me at St. Lucie West Boulevard.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you would have everyone at St. Lucie West Boulevard, so.
Okay. All right. We're good? We're good with the presentation as presented to us?
Yes.
Everyone? All right. Do we need a motion on that, on the presentation to accept it?
Do you guys want a motion for approval?
Yes, I believe our intent would be to ask for a motion so that we can at least move forward and go to the next step once we're appropriately able to do so.
Just want to make sure. So is there a motion?
Motion to approve the half-cent sales tax as presented, excuse me.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will do Resolution 26-R64.
A uniform resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, establishing the rate of an infrastructure surtax of 0.5 cent on every dollar pursuant to Chapter 212 Florida statutes, calling for a referendum on the surtax, calling upon the Supervisor of Elections of St. Lucie County to place the ballot question for the 0.5 cent infrastructure surtax on the 2026 general election ballot as mandated by Florida law, directing transmission of this resolution to St. Lucie County and the Supervisor of Elections of St. Lucie County, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-R64.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, I kind of want to ask a few things about this, because I think the resolution is kind of superfluous, and I think that, if I'm correct, Mr. City Attorney, the city passed a resolution on, I think, February 23rd, somewhere around there, correct?
That is correct.
And the county followed up and passed an ordinance in March 17th, correct?
Yes. Also
And did that ordinance expressly say that this referendum would be placed on the ballot in 2026?
Yes, the resolution set forth the rate and called for the referendum.
And does does the state statute say that the county may place an item on the ballot, but if a municipality, and I'm paraphrasing here, that represents a majority of the population passes such a resolution that it shall be on the ballot?
That is precisely my reading of the statute.
So if something shall be done, that means that it's not discretionary, is that correct?
That is also my understanding of the word shall.
So in order to and the deadline for getting something on the ballot is August 4th, correct?
I believe it's August 5th, but very, very close, yes.
Okay, and
that's for publication, Councilman.
And for an ordinance, you typically need 10 days of advertising or notice. Is that reasonable?
It depends on who's passing the ordinance. If it's the city, we would need 2 readings. We would need the appropriate notice, and the county, I believe, has 1 reading.
Okay, and that would be 10-day notice?
I believe it's 10, if I'm not mistaken.
And if they wanted to do it before 10 days, if they want to do an ordinance with less than 10 days, they would need a supermajority to pass that ordinance?
Yes, under the exception for counties, they would have to pass with a 4 to 5, a 4 or higher vote.
Is August 5th more than 10 days from today?
I can count, but I believe it is
Business
not.
days?
Yeah. Less.
So in order to undo the ordinance that they passed, which expressly said it would be on the ballot in 2026, would they need to undo it with an ordinance?
Yes, that's kind of a common doctrine under the law called legislative equivalency.
So, and the reason I bring all this up isn't to extend the meeting because it's late, but if we pass this, there's going to be a narrative out here that the city put this on the ballot, the city did this, the city did that. This is already done.
Mm-hmm.
It's finished. This is superfluous. And so if 4 out of 5 county commissioners would be required to undo an ordinance under emergency procedures, they don't have that because 2 commissioners support it being on the ballot. So I'm going to vote no on this because I believe it's superfluous. And I just wanted to make that clear for the record about why I was voting no. Thank you.
Understood.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I agree with my colleague. And obviously we follow recommendations from our city attorney and wanting to make sure that, and I understand legal, they want to make sure we button everything up to the way that it provides the city the most coverage in a disagreement like this. For me, the reason why I supported the resolution was because, the city has worked with the county and we continue to try to build a more collaborative relationship with the county. And there were some comments said at the last meeting that concerned me as well. And I felt that this resolution was a way to give the county an opportunity to maybe have a better discussion in regards to the previous decisions that were made. So I thought that would be, I agreed with the city attorney as far as making sure we do things as legally as possible, but then more importantly, cover, and then give an opportunity for better discussion. But I'm fine withdrawing my motion, to be quite honest. And is there something, based upon Councilman Bona's assessment, do you feel that we need to move forward with this, or do you feel we have enough to move forward with what we have already?
I don't think, I'll just say it out loud. I don't think my legal position or my analysis of the statute changes and hinges upon the passing of this resolution. I think the logic is the same. Obviously, would it make me feel better? Sure. Be extra sure, why not? But again, the legal position would remain the same, and my intent is to basically continue to collaborate and discuss with both the county attorney and the supervisor of elections attorney and state our position, preserve our rights, and do what I'm supposed to do with regard to that.
I'm okay with withdrawing, but I want to check on the second to see how they feel.
Does it really matter to withdraw? Can you just take a vote? Because you don't have to vote for a motion if you make the motion.
I mean,
just let let it roll. I think it sends a message.
But
So,
I think Councilman Bona's point's correct, because then we get, like, this is something that was already agreed upon, and then this resolution essentially will say it's our fault, that we're the ones wanting it, but in reality, they agreed to it, Fort Pierce agreed to it, and we agreed to it.
and Fort
So
Pierce
this is a
did a resolution
This is
too.
a three-party agreement, and now the county, it appears the county's trying to back up out of that ordinance. So to his point, why are we gonna go out on a limb being like, this is just us? I agree with that position.
So then, why don't we just let our city attorney have those conversations about what has already been approved with the county attorney and the supervisor of elections? And then if there's a reason that we do need to come back and we do need to put forward the resolution, we can call a special meeting and do that.
Yep.
But, if you want
So instead of voting against it, should I just table it for
yeah,
date uncertain?
we could table it.
All right, I withdraw my motion.
Go ahead, Rich.
So, I mean, so long as council supports my efforts of advocating for the city in this regard, I think I'm comfortable with that. Overall, we can make a motion on that.
Well, absolutely. The statute is the statute. The statute says what it says. Like Councilman Bona says, it says shall in two places, not just one place. And it says what it says, and it's.
Understood.
I don't even know how you can interpret it a different way.
That's what I was thinking.
Because the word shall is the word shall, not may. So
Understood.
I'm fine with that. Continuing on, and if you need to come back to us, we can make sure we address it before the time period, before August 5th.
Understood.
And just for procedure, I removed my motion, but I don't know if the second person
Who seconded?
Who seconded the motion?
I did, but I just don't understand why. I mean, if you're withdrawing it. Go ahead, withdraw.
Mr. Barish, you have open dialogue with the county attorney on this
Yes,
matter?
both the county attorney and the supervisor of elections attorney.
So I will make a motion to table Resolution 26-R64 to a date uncertain.
Second.
Okay.
That way we can bring it back if we have to call a special meeting. If we don't, then we can't, it's gonna be harder to bring it back.
I guess that's where I'm confused. It's a resolution, it's just sending a message and really giving you our support to go ahead and move forward. So I don't quite understand.
So just like I said, if there's anything I can do to help, I guess clarify it more, again, regardless of whether or not this resolution is passed, is denied, is tabled, my legal position won't change. I'm going to still have those same exact conversations I intended on having with both parties. Assert our legal position as a collective, as long as I have council support.
Yep.
And if there's some sort of escalation that necessitates some sort of legal proceeding or anything like that, I'll be coming back to you all, kind of with hat in hand, asking for permission.
Like in 4 days.
Yeah?
Good things take time, great things happen all at once.
Okay.
It's a great quote.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me,
Motion passes.
I'm the weirdo.
All right, city managers report.
Mayor and council, just one quick announcement tonight. Beginning August 1st, the City of Port St. Lucie legal advice advertisements will primarily be published on the St. Lucie County Legal Notices portal in accordance with updated statutory requirements. This change is cost-effective, streamlines public access to legally required notices, improves transparency, and offers a centralized location. Residents may opt to receive notices by email or mail or by calling the city clerk's office. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
On July 15th, I attended the fire board meeting. On the 16th, I did speak with the Realtors Association here locally. And on the 22nd and 23rd, along with everybody, I attended the summer workshop. And thank you to all of those who donated your ties.
Are you going to make those into a nice little
Yes,
presentation?
it's already in the new location and a presentation, and I will share photos.
Awesome.
All of them are being displayed. And then on the 24th, Friday, attended the long-awaited but you know what? I think it happened a lot quicker than what I thought it was going to happen. The police training facility, absolutely gorgeous, state-of-the-art, just amazing, amazing. So enjoy and keep safe and keep updated and keep trained. Thank you.
All right, on the 21st, I went and did coffee with the council. 22nd, 23rd, also attended the summer workshop. And on the 24th, the ribbon cutting at the police training building. I have to say, there's a person sitting up here to my far right who showed her, how should I say it?
You don't want me to be a member of the police department?
Yes,
but
you
I'm-
don't want her to be your protector, because during the Milo's training, the gun come
What does
out,
that
and
mean?
instead of running toward the danger, she ran away from it.
In
But she was shooting as she was running, so
reality.
it was funny to see. It was funny to see her reaction.
Are you saying, is that in the Milo, or was that in
It
the
was in Milo.
taser one?
It was in the Milo.
Okay.
So, but anyway,
I was volunteered, thank you, Councilman Pickett, but it was really just very realistic, which is great training for
You're
officers.
more than welcome. So for my announcement, are you looking for a job? You might find one at the Community Job Fair on Thursday, August 13th from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Mid-Florida Event Center. Meet in person with employers who are hiring in Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River counties. Veterans can participate early, starting at 3 p.m. The job fair is in collaboration with the Career Source Research Coast and the City of Port St. Lucie. For more information, visit cityofpsl.com.
And
That's all. Thank you.
can he go to the person to the immediate right, not to the far right? I forgot to do my announcement.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I apologize, but at least I got it done before it left this side. Don't let the opportunity pause you by. Who writes these? Port St. Lucie Animal Control is hosting a low-cost rabies and microchip drive-through clinic. Did they get a special exception? No, I'm kidding. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., Saturday, August 22nd, I'm in July, in the Animal Control parking lot on Southwest South Macedo Boulevard. That's a mouthful. For $20, pets will receive a 1-year rabies vaccination, a microchip, and a city pet license. Learn more, pre-register your cat or dog, pslpolice.com. That, I don't know about y'all, I've got animals and it costs a lot more than $20. So that is a deal, such a deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have, they didn't give us announcement sheets.
What?
I don't have announcement sheets.
A what?
You?
Announcement sheets?
She forgot to give everyone an announcement sheet. Me and
Oh, I got
Councilman
one.
Vaughn don't have one. Oh, wait. No, it's okay. It's fine.
They're
Um,
sharing.
You could share it.
As long as they didn't write anything. You didn't write anything on it, so then that for, okay, perfect. As long as you didn't write anything, we're good. Sorry. On 7/15, I attended the quarterly South Bend meeting. I want to thank all the staff that was there. I also want to thank our Public Works Director, Colt. He's already working on some of the concerns that we had, so thank you very much. 7/22 to 7/23, the summer workshop. 7/24, the police training facility. And then Port St. Lucie once again is earning national recognition, this time from HGTV, which listed PSL among the 20 best mid-sized cities in the country. It highlights strong population growth, quality of life, beautiful parks and preserves, spring training at Clover Park, abundant outdoor recreation, and a family-friendly charm. This is a wonderful way to recognize our awesome city. And you know what's funny is that I was watching the news today, and they were talking about city sizes, and they said anything over 250 is a large city. So I saw mid-size on this, and I was like, I don't know, I think we're officially large, so we'll see how that goes. I think we are.
All right, thank you. So I attended the workshop as well as the police training facility. And my announcement, small business owners can soar to new heights through the city's Business Accelerator Program, sponsored by the Indian River State College's School of Continuing Education, It's a 10-week course that teaches the skills and the techniques needed to lead a small business to growth, productivity, and profitability. Classes are every Wednesday starting August 5th at IRSC's Pruitt campus. Visit cityofpsl.com/events to register. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I attended Fire Board, spoke in front of the Caribbean American Cultural Group, Police Training Facility, Summer Workshop, of course, Humane Society Board Meeting, and Florida Coast Medical Center Board Meeting. And my announcement is Year 2 of the Love Your Block projects kick off this week. We're grateful to have exceptional community partners joining us this year, including the United Way, the Boys and Girls Club, St. Lucie Skaters, Windmill Point Elementary School, and more. We also extend heartfelt thanks to the local businesses that have generously contributed to this work: All American Signs and Graphics, Nature's Keeper, Mozzarella Pizzeria, Custom Welding Diversified, and others. This year, 9 upcoming projects funded through mini grant support powered by the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation at Johns Hopkins University will bring new creativity, public art, and neighborhood pride to Whispering Pines. Be on the lookout for these improvements over the coming weeks in this neighborhood. And that's all I have, so we're adjourned.